Chapter 925. 925 The Great Battle Against the Little Demon Lord. Buzz. The little demonic lord's figure moved and chased after the Talisman Sect disciple. He grabbed with his claw and destroyed all the attacks of the Talisman Sect disciple. He grabbed the Talisman Sect disciple's throat and lifted him up high. Lu Ming, I'm telling you, don't let me bump into him. Otherwise, I'll make sure he dies without a burial ground. The little demonic lord's expression was extremely ferocious. He hated Lu Ming to the core. You'd better let him go. Otherwise, I guarantee that you'll be the one to die without a burial place. At this moment, a voice suddenly sounded. Lu Ming walked out of a small alley. Lu Ming Zongzi. The Talisman Sect's disciples revealed looks of joy. Lu Ming. The little demon lord spat out the two words word by word coldly, his voice extremely cold. He was a little surprised. He did not expect to meet Lu Ming just as he mentioned him. Lu Ming's eyes swept across the area and his gaze turned gloomy when he saw the Talisman Sect disciple who had been killed. Lu Ming, didn't you want to save people? Let's see how you're going to save him. The little demonic lord sneered. He suddenly exerted force in his claws. With a crack, he crushed the Talisman Sect disciple in his claws to death. Boom! Lu Ming's body exploded with a violent aura. A cold, killing intent burst out and enveloped the little demon lord. Luo Li, you will die today. Lu Ming's eyes were extremely cold. He looked at the little demon lord as if he was looking at a dead man. Lu Ming, don't think that you can kill me. I didn't even use my full strength the last time. We don't know who will win yet. A powerful aura burst out of the little demon lord's body, and a black demonic chi rushed into the sky. Bang! Bang! Lu Ming strode forward, the 5 dragon energies in his body erupting at the same time. His body was covered in a thick layer of scales. Kill! The word kill came out like a thunderbolt. Lu Ming struck out with his palm and the space trembled. 9 Deaths Devil Blade. A pitch-black saber appeared in the little demonic lord's hand, and a sharp saber light burst out. Boom! With a huge boom, the little demon lord's body trembled and he staggered back. How can his strength be so terrifying? The little demon lord's face revealed a trace of shock. In his previous battle with Lu Ming did not burst out with 5 flashes of dragon energy. Die! Lu Ming strode forward and blasted out a violent force. His palm was like an immemorial divine mountain, containing infinite power, and he struck at the little demon lord. I don't believe it. The little demonic lord roared and touched his chest. He let out a low growl. Then, the little demonic lord's body began to swell, and bone spikes extended from his arms and shoulders. His aura also increased greatly. Lu Ming die. The little demonic lord roared and charged at Lu Ming like a demonic creature. With a wave of his hand, the bone spikes pierced through the air, making a sharp whistling sound as they stabbed at Lu Ming. Bang! Bang! The vital essence in his body roared and 4 types of intense swirled around. Lu Ming circulated the prison-suppressing heaven technique in his palm and continuously bombarded the little demon lord. The two of them were like a demon and a demon. They kept bombarding each other in a very direct way. The entire area began to shake violently. The surrounding palaces all heard it. There's a huge battle going on. Let's go and take a look. A burly young man was exploring one of the palaces. When he heard the commotion, he rushed towards the source of the sound. There were also others who heard the commotion, but they didn't dare to rush over. This was because the commotion was too shocking and it exceeded their strength. In the blink of an eye, Lu Ming had exchanged dozens of moves with the little demon lord. Gradually, the little demon lord was at a disadvantage while Lu Ming had the upper hand. Bang! Lu Ming's palm hit the little demon lord's shoulder, breaking the bone spur on his shoulder and creating a huge wound. The little demon lord let out an angry roar. Roar! At this moment, a loud roar was heard. A burly young man appeared. His eyes were filled with ferocity and he bared his fangs. Brother Jean, let's kill Lu Ming together. The little demon lord was overjoyed to see this young man. Good, just what I want. The burly young man revealed a ferocious smile. In the next moment, he transformed into a huge tiger and pounced at Lu Ming. It was the powerful heaven's favorite from the Sky Demon Valley. He had 50% of the bloodline of the divine beast, and his combat strength was extremely terrifying. Lu Ming die. The little demonic lord's eyes revealed a malevolent look. A hideous-looking creature appeared above his head. It was a demonic creature with thick demonic chi, a wide mouth with sharp fangs, and a body full of bone spikes. There were 5 golden chakras shining around the demonic creature. This was the bloodline of the little demonic lord, a 5th-level divine bloodline. The little demonic lord turned into a ray of light and fused into his blood vessels. He had completely transformed into a demonic creature. Demonic chi surged as he charged at Lu Ming. You're the ones who will die. 9 dragons. Lu Ming shouted. His 9-dragon bloodline appeared and he transformed into 9 dragons, exuding a vast dragon's might. What is this? The fierce golden tiger was shocked and felt a little scared. The true dragon was the head of all beasts, and there were not many that could be compared to it. Other divine beasts would instinctively feel reverence when facing a true dragon, let alone 9 dragons. The ferocious golden tiger was shocked. The 9 dragons' claws struck down and sent the ferocious golden tiger flying. Following that, it struck out with its claw again, clashing with the little demon lord's move, causing him to stagger back. Roar! At that moment, the golden tiger roused its spirits and roared loudly, pouncing towards Lu Ming. The bloodline of the 9 dragons. This is the legendary 9 dragons. You've actually awakened the bloodline of the 9 dragons. Hand it over. The golden tiger roared, its eyes filled with greed. The 9 dragons were existences that were of a higher level than the true dragon. If he could take away Lu Ming's 9-dragon bloodline, even if he could not use it himself, he could offer it to the supreme being of the Flood Dragon tribe. He would definitely be rewarded handsomely. At the same time, the little demonic lord also rushed toward Lu Ming. 9 dragons trampling the heavens. The 9 dragon claws stepped in the air as if they were real dragons, surveying the world and ruling it. A terrifying dragon's might gushed out, and under the 9 claws, a vast power erupted. Lu Ming had cultivated the 9 dragons' heaven-treading steps to the 6th step, which was equivalent to the highest level of a high-grade demigod martial technique. However, after transforming into the 9 dragons and performing it, the power was even more terrifying. Boom! Boom! With 2 deafening sounds, the little demonic lord and the golden tiger were sent flying by Lu Ming. A surge of energy gushed out in all directions. However, the palace seemed to be made of some kind of unique material that made it indestructible, and it was unknown whether it was inscribed with a formation or made of some kind of special material. The powerful energy that seemed to be able to pierce through the earth did not leave a single mark on the palace at all. How can he be so strong? The little demon lord cried out in disbelief. He and the golden tiger were both at the 4th-level spirit embryo realm, 2 levels higher than Lu Ming. The 2 of them had joined forces, but they were still at a disadvantage. How was this possible? Kill! The 9 dragons twisted their bodies and pounced at the little demon lord. Boom! With a swipe of his claw, the little demon lord spat out a large mouthful of blood, and more than a dozen of the hideous bone spikes on his body were broken. Join hands, join hands. The little demonic lord roared and was a little flustered. He was not Lu Ming's match at all. On the other side, the golden tiger was a little frightened, but it still roared angrily and pounced at Lu Ming. At this moment, a scroll flew out of the 9 dragons' forehead. It was the mountain and river diagram. Chapter 926. 926 Killing the Little Demon Lord. The mountain and river diagram glowed and expanded rapidly, becoming longer and wrapping around the golden tiger. The golden tiger roared and struggled with all its might. However, the mountain and river diagram was shining, and it could not break free at all. It's indeed useful. Lu Ming was overjoyed. This was a usage he thought of at the last minute. The mountain and river diagram was a treasure that contained a world within it. Naturally, it was strong and immortal. If the golden tiger was trapped, it should not be able to break free. As expected, the effect was very good. The golden tiger was trapped. Ro Li, let's see who else can help you now. The 9 dragons' eyes glowed with a ferocious light as they pounced at the little demon lord, using the 9 dragons' heaven-stomping steps. Bang! Bang! The little demonic lord was no match for him and kept retreating. The bone spikes on his body were broken, and blood and flesh flew everywhere. He spat out large mouthfuls of blood. Go, go! The little demon lord was scared and wanted to escape, but the 9 dragons had completely blocked his way out. How could he escape? Poochie! Then, the little demonic lord screamed as one of his arms was torn off by the 9 dragons. The huge demonic creature's body shrank rapidly and turned back into the little demonic lord. At this moment, his face was deathly pale, and his eyes were filled with fear. Die! The huge dragon claw grabbed at the little demon lord. No, no, Lu Ming, you can't kill me. My brother is demonic lord Luo Tian, 10th on the list of top 1,000 talents. If you kill me, my brother will not let you off. The little demonic lord shouted as he resisted with all his might. What a joke! Weren't you very arrogant before? Now that you've lost, you're bringing up your big brother. What a waste! Lu Ming berated coldly, his dragon claws not stopping. Bang! The little demonic lord screamed as a huge wound appeared on his body. Blood flowed out, and his aura became even weaker. On the other side, the golden tiger let out a long roar. Its entire body emitted a brilliant golden light, but it was useless. It couldn't break through the mountain and river diagram. The dragon claw continued to claw down and hit the little demon lord's chest. The little demon lord was sent flying and crashed into the wall of a palace. The palace did not move, but the little demon lord's bones cracked and he fell to the ground, unable to move like a dead fish. Lu Ming transformed into his human form and stepped forward, stepping on the little demon lord's face. A long spear appeared in his hand, and he pointed it at the little demon lord's heart. No, no, don't kill me. The little demonic lord was incomparably terrified. His entire body was cold as he felt the approaching death god. He had never been so afraid before. He had been a proud son of heaven since he was young. His brother, Luo Tian, was even more talented and almost invincible. They had been taken in as Di Tian's imperial guards since they were young and were carefully nurtured. He had never been so close to death before and had never been so afraid. It had always been him killing others. When had others been able to kill him? On the list of top 1,000 talents, those who were ranked higher than him had to give him face because his brother was Luo Tian. However, Lu Ming's killing intent was extremely cold. He was not afraid of his big brother at all and wanted to kill him. If I don't kill you, why didn't you consider letting my talisman amulet sect's disciples off when you killed them? Lu Ming sneered and looked down at the little demon lord. The little demonic lord was speechless. In his heart, those talisman sect disciples were all trash, trash. How could they compare to him? But how could he say such thoughts out loud? Lu Ming, my brother Luo Tian is unrivaled and ranked 10th on the list of top 1,000 talents. His combat strength is far beyond your imagination. No matter how talented you are, you're no match for my brother. You'd better let me go. Otherwise, no one can save you. The little demon lord continued to mention his elder brother, hoping to deter Lu Ming. Bang! Lu Ming stomped his foot hard and the little demon lord's face hit the ground hard. A few of his teeth fell out and blood flowed out of his mouth. What a joke! No matter how strong Luo Tian is, he's only ranked 10th on the list of top 1,000 talents. There are 9 humans above him, not including the demons. He's invincible? Also, can your big brother compare to D? Now, even D wants to catch me, but I'm still fine. What do you mean by no one can save me? If your big brother comes, I'll kill him. Lu Ming sneered, his killing intent growing stronger. Lu Ming, stop. Suddenly, a figure appeared in a small alley. It was Brother Lydian. Ah, Brother Lydian, save me, save me. Seeing Brother Lydian, the little demonic monarch shouted with all his might. It doesn't matter who you call, just die. As soon as he finished speaking, the long spear in Lu Ming's hand suddenly stabbed out, piercing the little demon lord's heart. The little demonic lord let out a hysterical scream, his eyes popping out, filled with unwillingness and hatred. Bang! With a shake of the long spear, vital essence exploded, crushing the little demon lord's heart into pieces. The little demon lord died. At the entrance of the alley, Brother Lydian's face turned ugly. He turned around and disappeared into the alley in a flash. Brother Lydian knew very well that his combat strength was only slightly higher than the young demon lord. He was probably not Lu Ming's match in a fight. He might as well leave. Lu Ming glanced in the direction that Brother Lydian had left. He did not pursue him. Instead, he waved his hand and put away the little demonic lord's storage ring. Then he walked towards the golden tiger. Ah, don't kill me. The fierce golden tiger cried out in fear and struggled with all its might. Seeing the little demon lord being killed in front of him, he almost peed his pants. Boom! Lu Ming clenched his fist and punched the golden tiger's head. Bang! The golden tiger was unable to resist and was hit by a heavy punch. It suddenly felt dizzy and felt as if its head was about to be crushed. It saw stars. Whoa, this tiger's head is too hard. It's actually not killed after one punch. Lu Ming was also a little shocked. He was well aware of how terrifying his punch was. However, he was surprised that it did not smash the tiger's head. No, don't kill me. I admit defeat. I surrender. I'll recognize you as my big brother. Please let me go. The ferocious golden tiger shook its head and actually loudly begged for mercy. It cried out in an extremely miserable manner. Lu Ming, I'm begging you. I have an 80-year-old mother and a 3-year-old child. I beg you, please spare me. From now on, you're my big brother. I'll be grateful for your kindness. The golden tiger continued to roar. Lu Ming was a little stunned. This golden tiger was also a weirdo. Nonsense, I see that you have abundant yang qi. You clearly haven't lost your virginity. Where did you come from, a 3-year-old child? Lu Ming rolled his eyes and then chided. That's a child I picked up from the barren mountains, every word is true. The golden tiger's eyes darted around as it continued to spout nonsense. Alright, don't talk nonsense in front of me. You can surrender if you want, but relax your mind. I'm going to carve a formation in your mind. Otherwise, I won't be at ease. I'll have to kill you. You have 50% of the divine beast bloodline. The tiger whip is also a great supplement. As he said that, Lu Ming cast a few glances behind the golden tiger. The golden tiger felt a chill run down its spine and it couldn't help but clench its legs. Inscribe the formation. The golden tiger was a little hesitant. It was very clear that if the array was really engraved on it, it would really become Lu Ming's slave. However, if he did not agree, Lu Ming would not let him off. Chapter 927. 927 Chapter 927 Emperor's Legacy. He possessed half of the divine beast's bloodline and had a bright future. He did not want to die just like that. He felt a chill all over his body, especially when he thought of being killed by Lu Ming and possibly becoming a dish to go with his wine. As for backbone, he had lived for so long that he didn't know what backbone was. His top priority was to save his life. Therefore, he only thought about it for a moment and nodded repeatedly. Okay, I agree. You carve the formation, and you'll be my big brother from now on. After saying that, his eyes revealed a pitiful look. However, he was big and burly, with a wide mouth and sharp fangs, and a fierce aura filled the air. How did he look pitiful at all? Relax your mind and don't resist at all. With that, Lu Ming began to inscribe the array. The soul-splitting array. Lu Ming had once used this array to control Wang Haoxin. Soon, the formation was formed and entered the golden tiger's head. the soul-splitting formation. With just a thought from me, your soul will be torn apart. At the very least, you'll become an idiot. At the very worst, you'll die on the spot. Do you want to try the effects? Lu Ming kept the mountain and river diagram and looked at the golden tiger. The fierce golden tiger's eyes rolled and said, "No need, no need. You're an expert from the talisman sect and are proficient in the Tao of inscription. I naturally believe you. Big brother, you're my big brother from now on." The golden tiger transformed into a human form. It was a burly young man with strong muscles all over his body. His arms were thicker than Lu Ming's thighs. "Get lost, who's your big brother?" Lu Ming berated. "Okay, not big brother, but boss. You are my boss." The golden tiger immediately nodded and bowed. Lu Ming's expression looked better. He said, "What's your name?" "I'm called King Kong. What do you think? Isn't this name powerful?" King Kong's muscles twitched as he spoke. "Hey, it's powerful. It's indeed powerful. You'd better transform into your beast form and be my mount for the time being." Lu Ming instructed. To be your mount?" Vajra's eyes widened, revealing a fierce look. Who was he? He was a heaven's favorite of the demon clan who had 50% of the divine beast bloodline. He was high and mighty and worshipped by thousands of demons. Now, Lu Ming actually called him a mount. He was furious. "What's wrong? You want to test the power of the god-splitting formation?" Lu Ming looked at King Kong with an unfriendly gaze. King Kong immediately gave in and lost his momentum. He grinned and said, "No, why would I? It's this little brother's good fortune to be able to become your mount, boss." As he spoke, he transformed into a ferocious golden tiger. It was 3 meters tall and 6 meters long. Its body was covered in shiny golden hair, smooth and silky. Needless to say, this fellow's appearance was not bad. Although King Kong appeared to be honest, he was cursing in his heart. I'll bear with it for now. When the Battle of Providence is over, I'll go out and think of a way to break that formation. I'll definitely cut this kid into 8 pieces to vent my heartache and hatred." Thinking of this, King Kong's eyes revealed a trace of viciousness. This guy looks honest on the surface. If I don't teach him a lesson, he might stab me in the back. The corners of Lu Ming's lips curled into a cold smile. He suddenly had an idea and exploded the power of soul-splitting. Vajra let out a blood-curdling screech and started rolling on the ground. "What's going on? What was going on? Why do I suddenly feel like I'm going to split apart? It hurts, it hurts." King Kong kept roaring and rolling on the ground. After a while, Lu Ming finally stopped controlling the god-splitting formation. King Kong lay on the ground powerlessly with his tongue out and a look of exhaustion on his face. I'm sorry. I accidentally triggered the soul-splitting array that I engraved in your mind. Are you all right?" Lu Ming pretended to be surprised. Oh, big. Was that you just now?" King Kong looked at Lu Ming with great hidden bitterness. "I'm sorry, I was not careful just now. Speaking of which, was it because you were scolding me in your heart just now that I activated the soul-splitting array?" Lu Ming looked at King Kong with a faint smile. King Kong wailed in his heart. He finally knew the power of the soul-splitting formation. This time, he was really honest and shouted, boss, I'm innocent. From now on, I'll be loyal to you." "Yes, that's more like it." Lu Ming patted the King Kong's huge head. The King Kong's combat strength was not bad. It would be of help to him if he kept it. "Let's go and take a look at other places." He waved his hand and Lu Ming took the lead. Buzz! They hadn't even taken a few steps when an invisible ripple suddenly came from the depths of the palace. At the same time, the entire group of palaces began to tremble. Buzz! And NBSP, whoosh! Then, the fluctuations became more and more intense, and the nearby palaces also trembled more and more violently. "He's inside, let's go over." Lu Ming and King Kong went deep into the palace at top speed. All of a sudden, Lu Ming saw a palace in the distance emitting endless golden light. The vast mental energy formed a mental storm that swept in all directions. An endless majestic aura filled the air. The next moment, a figure appeared from one of the palaces and sat cross-legged above it. The endless golden light was being emitted from this figure. Qi Shui. Lu Ming was shocked to see the figure. It was by Qi Shui. That golden light is so terrifying. It's a golden spirit fire, the spirit fire of an imperial Dao expert. Lu Ming was extremely shocked. He had received Lian Song's inheritance, so he could tell at a glance that the spirit fire on Bai Qishue's body was the spirit fire of a 9th-level alchemist, a sovereign warrior. Bai Qishue had received the inheritance of a level 9 alchemist. While Lu Ming was shocked, he was also happy for Bai Qishue. He did not expect Bai Qishue to have such a lucky chance to get the inheritance of a level 9 inheritor. Buzz. Buzz. Golden light filled the air and the palace trembled. Inscriptions appeared on the countless palaces, but then they all collapsed and disappeared. It seemed that Bai Qishue's inheritance had affected those formations. The disciples of the talisman sect can forget about obtaining the inheritance. With an angry roar, a blood-red sword light slashed towards Bai Qishue. Lu Ming turned pale with fright and leaped into the air. Previously, the palace was filled with inscription formations and it was difficult to soar into the air. Now that the formations had collapsed, it was no longer a problem. Although Lu Ming was fast, it was too late. However, when the blood-red sword light was about to hit Bai Qishue, another sword light shot out from her body and blocked it. 7th blood sword, you're looking for death. Lu Ming flew into a rage. He stepped in the air and approached Bai Qishue in an instant. His palm was like a heavenly blade, and he slashed at a young man in a blood-red robe. It was the 7th blood sword, the sovereign of the Heavenly Corpse sect, who had just attacked. Lu Ming. The 7th sanguine sword's eyes narrowed at the sight of Lu Ming. He brandished his sanguine sword, and the smell of blood assailed his nostrils. A sanguine sword light slashed at Lu Ming. Bang! The blood-red light collapsed. Lu Ming's body trembled as he felt his arm go numb. The 7th blood sword's combat strength was even above the little demon lord's. Buzz. Buzz. At this moment, figures flashed through the surrounding palace. There were Talisman Amulet sect disciples and people from the other 3 factions. Talisman Amulet sect disciples, gather together. Lu Ming shouted. Chapter 928. 928 Three-Eyed God Race's arrival. Take down those Talisman sect disciples. A blood-robed youth called out. It was Blood Sword 9. Vajra, go and help. Lu Ming shouted. All right, Blood Sword 9, your opponent is me. King Kong roared and pounced at Blood Sword 9. They immediately fought. King Kong, are you crazy? Our opponent is Lu Ming. Blood Sword 9 roared. You dare to fight with my boss? I'll cripple you. King Kong roared and clawed out continuously, covering Blood Sword 9. No matter how Blood Sword 9's sword light flickered, he couldn't break through. Blood Sword 7, Blood Sword 9, and the others were all shocked. The demon race's proud son of heaven, Vajra, actually called Lu Ming boss, and sided with him. What was going on? Die! Lu Ming transformed into the 9 dragons and clawed at Blood Sword 7. The 7th sanguine sword's body flashed with a blood-red light. The blood-red golden light was extremely sharp as it slashed toward Lu Ming. The two of them fought, and the rumbles continued. Figures flickered around him. Lu Ming saw Brother Lidian and another demon race prodigy, the man in green. King Kong, what's the meaning of this? The green-robed young man of the demon clan rushed toward King Kong. What do you mean? Get lost. The Vajra roared. Buzz. At this moment, the mountain and river diagram flew out of Lu Ming's glabella and wrapped around the 7th blood sword. The 7th sanguine sword was shocked. He instinctively felt that the painting was very dangerous. He retreated quickly and slashed out sword light to split the mountain and river painting. The 9 dragons twisted their bodies, and the 9 dragons' heaven stomping steps burst out toward the 7th blood sword, forcing him to retreat. Kill! Lu Ming surrounded himself with the mountain and river diagram to protect his vital points. Then he launched a violent attack on the seventh sanguine sword, ignoring his defense. The seventh blood sword fought back, but the mountain and river diagram didn't move at all when the sword light hit it. Bang! Blood Sword 7 was shocked and was hit by the 9 dragon's claws. He spat out a large mouthful of blood and quickly retreated. He did not dare to stay any longer. His figure flashed and he rushed to where Blood Sword 9 was and met up with him. Lu Ming stepped into the void and came to King Kong's side. The two sides were in a confrontation. Li Tian's brother stood in the distance and did not make a move. He had seen with his own eyes that Lu Ming had killed the little demon lord and restrained the Vajra. In his eyes, Lu Ming was simply unfathomable. King Kong, how dare you betray the demon race and help Lu Ming? Do you want to die? The green-robed demon youth shouted coldly. What are you shouting for? I'm all alone in the demon race. What's there to be afraid of? I'm going to join Lu Ming's side now. What's wrong with that? King Kong opened his mouth and looked at the young man in green with disdain. You. The green-robed youth's face turned ashen. You're looking for death. Lu Ming suddenly roared. Not far away, a paragon of the Heavenly Corpse sect was about to kill a Talisman sect disciple who was flying over. A long spear appeared and instantly crossed the void, killing the paragon of the Heavenly Corpse sect. Whoever dares to kill the disciples of my Talisman Amulet sect will die. Lu Ming's eyes were cold as he swept his gaze across the audience. Lu Ming, you're courting death. Blood Sword 9 shouted. Oh really? Let's see who will die. Lu Ming strode toward Blood Sword 9. Sanguine Sword 9 launched an explosive attack, but just like Sanguine Sword 7, Lu Ming did not care about defense at all. He launched a fierce attack, causing Sanguine Sword 9 to vomit blood. He could only turn around and escape. Blood Sword 7 and Blood Sword 9's expressions were ugly. They did not dare to fight Lu Ming. The green-robed young man from the demon clan was extremely fearful and kept his distance from Lu Ming. If any of you want to die, I don't mind sending you on your way. Lu Ming's cold gaze swept across the entire scene. The supreme talents of the Empyrean Heavenly Divine Palace, Heavenly Corpse Sect, and Heavenly Demon Valley stayed far away. They were extremely afraid. No one dared to stop the Talisman Sect's disciples. Very soon, the Talisman Amulet Sect's disciples gathered around Lu Ming. There were 5 to 6 people less than before. It was obvious that these 5 to 6 people had already fallen. This made Lu Ming's eyes turn gloomy. He pondered how to keep all the geniuses from the 3 parties. Buzz! At this moment, Bai Qishue's inheritance seemed to have reached a critical moment. The energy fluctuations from her body were getting stronger and stronger, and the golden light spread far and wide. From a distance, they could see that the surroundings of the palace were originally filled with great arrays. At this time, those great arrays were glowing and collapsing one by one. This place had become an ordinary land, and the formation had disappeared. All around, everyone was watching from afar. The people from the Empyrean Divine Palace, the Heavenly Corpse Sect, and the Sky Demon Valley were very unwilling and wanted to cause trouble. However, with Lu Ming eyeing them like a tiger watching its prey and the Vajra, they did not dare to make a move. After a while, the energy fluctuation on Bai Qishue's body decreased and the golden light faded away. When the golden light was gone, Bai Qishue opened her eyes. Everyone's eyes were fixed on Bai Qishue. Bai Qishue seemed to know nothing. She was a little confused. She looked around and then stood up as if she had remembered something. Qishue, how is it? Lu Ming moved and came to Bai Qishue's side. Fortunately, I seem to have obtained the inheritance of a senior. Bai Qishue blinked her eyes and looked a little confused. Lu Ming was speechless. Bai Qishue had obtained the inheritance of a 9th-level alchemist. Did she not know about it? There seems to be a lot of new things in my head that I need to digest. Bai Qishue said. Lu Ming nodded. It was true. It was just like when he first received the legacy from Lian Song. It was impossible to increase his combat strength so quickly. He needed time to understand it. It would be very helpful for his future cultivation. The other disciples of the talisman sect all looked at Bai Qixue with envy. With the inheritance of a 9th-level alchemist, Bai Qixue was destined to rise in the future. As for the other 3 forces, their eyes were filled with killing intent. It was not a good thing for the other 3 forces that Bai Qixue had received the inheritance of the emperor. In the future, when she rose to power, she was destined to be on the opposite side of the 3 forces. Boom, boom, boom. At this moment, a violent explosion came from the distance. The voice came from outside the palace. The earth rumbled as if 10,000 horses were galloping. Even the void was shaking violently. Then, powerful auras shot up into the sky like smoke. What's going on? Everyone present was shocked. Buzz. Buzz. The sound of something breaking through the air could be heard. It was the people from the 3 forces of the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace who had stayed outside the formation. Now that the formation had collapsed, there was naturally no one who could stop them. 3-eyed God race. It's the 3-eyed God race. After those people flew over, their faces were filled with panic. Everyone else's faces changed as well. They then saw that on the ground and in the air, there were many tall and burly 3-eyed gods riding on a huge demonic beast. These demonic beasts were similar to the 3-eyed god race. Their bodies were covered in scales and they had 2 long horns like water buffaloes. And NBSP, the 3-eyed god race, had completely surrounded them. These 3-eyed gods have been eyeing this ruin for a long time. They probably want to surround us and kill us. Once the formation collapses, they'll charge out. Lu Ming's eyes were solemn. He could sense many powerful auras among the 3-eyed god race. Chapter 929. 929 Chapter 929 Chaotic Slaughter. Some of the auras were extremely thick and gave off a powerful pressure. Not only were there 7th-level spirit embryo realm cultivators, but there were even stronger ones. Boom, boom, boom. The 3-eyed god's mount trembled as it stomped through the air, carrying with it a heaven-shaking killing intent. Human brat, how dare you use my race as your hunting target? Today I'll bury you here. And NBSP, kill. A thunderous voice boomed from the 3-eyed god race, causing one's eardrums to buzz. What do we do? Some people were terrified. There were simply too many 3-eyed gods, and their experts were as numerous as the clouds. It was impossible for them to charge out. Could it be that they were going to die here today? Brother Lydian, Blood Sword 7, Blood Sword 9, and the geniuses of the monster race all had ugly expressions. No way! Don't tell me I'm going to die here today? Vajra looked into the distance with fear in his eyes. Don't resist. Lu Ming looked at Bai Qixue and the rest. Ah! The talisman sect disciples looked at Lu Ming in a daze. Lu Ming waved his hand and the mountain and river diagram flew towards the talisman amulet sect disciples. Remember, don't resist. With that, the mountain and river diagram glowed and rolled up the talisman amulet sect's disciples, taking them into the mountain and river diagram. Is this a spatial treasure? King Kong's eyes almost popped out. The others looked at Lu Ming one after another, their eyes filled with greed. Kill. Don't leave a single one. One of the most muscular 3-eyed gods waved his hand, and a group of 3-eyed gods charged toward Lu Ming's group on their water buffalo-like mounts. There were about 200 people, but each one of them exuded a terrifying aura. The pressure on their bodies was like a tide, surging towards them. Every single one of them was an expert above the spirit embryo realm. What do we do? What do we do? A Heaven's Pride expert of the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace shouted in fear. There was no way to retreat, because there were 3-eyed god race experts everywhere. They were already surrounded, and there were experts no matter where they retreated. Kill! In an instant, there were already experts who rushed over. Kill! Brother Lydian and the others shouted. They had no choice but to fight. Human brat, die! A burly 3-eyed god with a battle axe in his hand and a mount charged toward Lu Ming, swinging his axe down at his head. This was a three-eyed god at the 5th level of the spirit embryo realm. Bang! Lu Ming took a step forward and his fist was as heavy as a mountain, crushing down on the three-eyed god. The three-eyed god's body was punched through by Lu Ming and he died on the spot. And NBSP, the devouring power erupted, completely devouring the three-eyed god's blood essence. You're looking for death. When the other three-eyed god saw this, he pulled on his mount and charged toward Lu Ming. There were a total of 3 people, and they were all at the 6th level spirit embryo realm. A long spear, and an iron hammer. 3 types of weapons were thrown at Lu Ming. Boss, let me help you. The Vajra let out a long howl and charged towards a three-eyed god with a spear in his hand. His claw light slashed out and shattered the attack of the other party. The three-eyed god's face changed drastically as a beam of light shot out from his third eye. His mount also roared and charged at King Kong with its sharp horns. These three-eyed gods were not on the same level as the ones that Lu Ming had encountered before. These three-eyed gods were even stronger, and they were clearly the elites of the three-eyed god race. And NBSP, at the same time, the other 2 three-eyed gods also began to charge at the Vajra. Lu Ming took a step forward, and the power of the 9 dragons' heaven-stomping steps burst forth, blasting toward the 2 three-eyed god race beings. The 2 three-eyed gods, including their mounts, trembled and spat out large mouthfuls of blood. Die! Lu Ming burst out with 5 rays of dragon energy and his strength increased greatly. In a flash he charged at his opponent. Bang! Bang! 2 consecutive palm strikes landed on 2 three-eyed gods, splitting them into pieces. Even their mounts were killed by Lu Ming. On the other side, the spear-wielding three-eyed god had also been killed by the Vajra. The commotion they were making had attracted the attention of the other three-eyed gods. A few burly three-eyed gods glared at Lu Ming and King Kong coldly. You're looking for death. Charge, he said coldly. The three-eyed gods commanded their mounts to charge at Lu Ming and the others. Then let's kill to our heart's content. Lu Ming's eyes were cold as he transformed into the 9 dragons and charged toward the group of three-eyed gods with Vajra. Roar! Devour! The 9 dragons roared, and a terrifying devouring power erupted. Some of the three-eyed god race beings at the 1st and 2nd level of the spirit embryo realm were unable to control their bodies. They felt their blood essence and power being devoured by the 9 dragons. They screamed in horror as they watched their life force slip away. Even those three-eyed gods above the 3rd level of spirit embryo realm were terrified. Enveloped by the devouring power, their breathing became unstable, and their blood essence seemed to be about to burst out of their bodies. Boom, 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 boom. Following that, they were greeted by Lu Ming's 9 dragons' heaven-treading steps. The terrifying power struck them, and all those below the 5th level spirit embryo realm exploded, their blood essence and energy devoured by the 9 dragons. As for those at the 5th level of spirit embryo realm and above, they also vomited blood and retreated rapidly. Lu Ming's 9 dragons' heaven-stomping steps combined with the devouring power was simply a large-scale killing weapon. Kill him. Let's work together and kill him. A few of the 6th and 7th level spirit embryo realm three-eyed gods bellowed in rage and charged at Lu Ming. Vajra, you enter the mountain and river diagram. The mountain and river diagram danced and wrapped around the Vajra. Vajra's expression changed. He relaxed his body and mind. Suddenly, a force pulled Vajra and put him into the mountain and river diagram. The mountain and river diagram immediately surrounded the bodies of the 9 dragons. Lu Ming completely ignored his defense and charged towards the three-eyed god. The 9 dragon claws kept striking out. 2 three-eyed gods of the 6th level spirit embryo realm were killed in a row. Bang! Bang! All around, the attacks of the three-eyed god race landed on the mountain and river diagram. The mountain and river diagram trembled slightly, but it was blocked. Kill! Lu Ming shouted and charged at a 7th-tier spirit embryo realm three-eyed god. With a claw, he pierced through the heart of the three-eyed god. The devouring power continued to erupt, devouring the three-eyed god. Boom! A black iron hammer heavily hit the mountain and river diagram, causing it to fluctuate. The other three-eyed god at the 7th level of the spirit embryo realm held a metal hammer and looked at Lu Ming in shock. Earth Essence Realm, die. Lu Ming's eyes were filled with greed. This three-eyed god at the 7th level of the spirit embryo realm cultivated the earth concept. Lu Ming had to kill him. Lu Ming pounced on the other party. The other party was frightened and retreated quickly. Die. Human, go to hell. A long spear and a saber struck the mountain and river diagram heavily, causing it to fluctuate violently. Waves of energy passed through the mountain and river diagram and hit Lu Ming. Lu Ming's body trembled slightly and he offset this force. It seems that the defense of the mountain and river diagram changes according to my cultivation. My current cultivation is still low, so the defensive ability of the mountain and river diagram is not very high. If the opponent is much stronger than me, I will not be able to resist it. Lu Ming's heart stirred. Chapter 930. 930 Chapter 930 Refuge. The two three-eyed gods were only at the 8th level of the spirit embryo realm, but they were able to send their power through the mountain and river diagram to hit Lu Ming. Of course, it had been greatly weakened by the mountain and river diagram and could not cause any harm to Lu Ming. However, if it was someone stronger, such as the 9th level of the spirit embryo realm, it might cause harm to Lu Ming. Lu Ming's body trembled slightly. He ignored the attacks of the two 8th level spirit embryo realm three-eyed gods and focused on the 7th level spirit embryo realm three-eyed god. The 9 dragon claws were all using the prison suppressing heavenly art as they charged at each other. Bang! The other party used his huge iron hammer to block, but it was useless. The huge iron hammer was sent flying by Lu Ming. The dragon claw grabbed the other party's body. The other party roared and flew 100 meters away. He spat out a large mouthful of blood, but he did not die. The Earth Essence Realm's defensive power is indeed powerful. However, he still has to die. The dragon's claws stepped in the air, and with a twist of its body, it appeared in front of the opponent in an instant, clawing out again. Poochie! The claw pierced through his opponent and killed him. Lu Ming devoured all his blood essence and energy. While Lu Ming was killing, screams could be heard from other directions. The paragons of the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace, the Heavenly Corpse Sect, and the Sky Demon Valley were all killed on the spot. Some of them were peerless geniuses in the outside world. There were even god-level geniuses, but their lives were like grass and they were killed mercilessly. Lu Ming saw Bloodsword 9's blood-colored sword light crisscrossing and his entire body suffused with blood chi. He had killed a three-eyed god at the 7th level of the spirit embryo realm, but his head had been chopped off by an expert at the 8th level of the spirit embryo realm. The 63rd on the list of top 1,000 talents had fallen. Go retreat. Go to those palaces. Brother Lydian and the 7th Sanguine Swordsman roared and rushed out of the encirclement, rushing toward the palace. And NBSP, there were many wondrous things within those palaces that might be able to stop the three-eyed god race. Whoosh! At this moment, a saber cut through the void and slashed at the mountain and river diagram. The mountain and river diagram shook violently, and a powerful force poured into the bodies of the 9 dragons. It even cut open the scales of the 9 dragons and left a wound. 9th level spirit embryo realm. Lu Ming was shocked. One of them was at least 6 meters tall and was riding a huge mount. He held a saber in his hand and looked at Lu Ming with a cold gaze. Kill! He roared and his saber cut through the void, slashing at Lu Ming again. Boom! The mountain and river diagram shook violently. A terrifying saber chi passed through the mountain and river diagram and cut the bodies of the 9 dragons, leaving another wound. The 9th level of the spirit embryo realm is too strong. Even the mountain and river diagram can't block it. Retreat first. Lu Ming's mind was racing. In the spirit embryo realm, the gap between each stage was extremely huge. Only a rare person like him who cultivated a god-grade technique, had 2 god-grade bloodlines, and had extremely powerful bloodline martial techniques, could cross 5 stages and kill an opponent. However, Lu Ming was helpless against an 8th-level Spirit Embryo Realm Cultivator, while a 9th-level Spirit Embryo Realm Cultivator could easily kill him. "Let's go!" Lu Ming moved and dashed toward the palaces. The palace he had chosen was the one he had obtained the mountain and river diagram from. The strength of the puppets in the palace would change according to their cultivation level. Lu Ming believed that the three-eyed god would not be able to charge in. "Stop him!" The three-eyed god expert at the 9th level of the Spirit Embryo Realm let out an angry roar. A few three-eyed gods at the 8th tier of the Spirit Embryo Realm kept on attacking Lu Ming, but they were all blocked by the mountain and river diagram. "Get lost!" Lu Ming charged forward with all his might, breaking through the obstacles and rushing into the palace. He then transformed into his human form and rushed forward. In front of him, 2 puppets appeared. They glanced at Lu Ming with cold eyes and then stepped aside. He seemed to have recognized Lu Ming and did not stop him. Lu Ming was overjoyed and rushed over. Behind them, the other three-eyed gods rushed forward, but the puppets moved. They turned into terrifying attacks and charged towards the three-eyed gods. Lu Ming heard a blood-curdling scream. It seemed like one of the three-eyed gods had been killed. As expected, the puppets here would adjust their strength according to the cultivation level of the people who entered. Lu Ming walked into the secret room below. Just like the last time, puppets appeared, but they gave way to Lu Ming after a quick glance. Lu Ming arrived at the passageway without any obstacles. The puppets on both sides of the passage only glanced at Lu Ming and stood there without moving. Lu Ming's path was smooth, and he arrived at the secret chamber where he had obtained the mountain and river diagram. At this moment, Lu Ming heaved a long sigh. "This place should be safe. Let's refine the energy first." He immediately sat down cross-legged and began refining. This time, he had devoured quite a lot of energy and was constantly being refined. "I've made a breakthrough in the Earth concept. It's now at the peak of the 2nd level." Lu Ming had an idea. At the same time, the energy was constantly being refined and transformed into true essence, which poured into the spirit embryo. In his dantian, his spirit embryo was beating as if it was nurturing a life. As true essence poured in and was continuously condensed, the spirit embryo's size was also slowly shrinking. A day later, the aura on Lu Ming's body surged. 3rd level spirit embryo realm. After refining this energy, Lu Ming's cultivation had reached the 3rd level of the spirit embryo realm. "The energy I devoured this time is just enough for me to break through to the 3rd level of the spirit embryo realm. Inside, there are 2 three-eyed gods at the 7th level of the spirit embryo realm, 5 to 6 at the 6th level, and dozens of 5th level spirit embryo realm and below. That's just enough for me to break through to the 3rd level of the spirit embryo realm. The energy I need is so much." Lu Ming pondered in his heart. If he didn't devour a 3rd eye god of the 7th level spirit embryo realm, he wouldn't be able to break through. Of the 4 intents, the earth intent has reached the peak of the 2nd level beginning, while the thunder and wind intents are still at the peak of the 2nd level beginning. However, the wind intent has broken through and reached the lower tier of the 2nd level. Most of the three-eyed gods I just killed cultivated the wind intent. However, the bloodline of the 9 dragons hasn't been upgraded. The amount of blood essence required is even more terrifying. Let's go into the mountain and river diagram first to take a look at Qi Shui and the others. After that, I'll stabilize my foundation here, condense my true energy and will, and then break out of here. His cultivation had increased by 1 level and he was now at the 3rd level of the spirit embryo realm. With the mountain and river diagram, Lu Ming was confident that he could break out of the encirclement and escape. With a single thought, Lu Ming entered the mountain and river diagram. As soon as he entered the mountain and river diagram, he saw Bai Qi Shui and the other talisman amulet sect disciples flying around in the vast land. After a long time, some people finally noticed Lu Ming and gathered around him. "Zongzi!" Lu Ming Zongzi. The talisman sect disciples saluted Lu Ming. They looked at Lu Ming with envy, shock, and gratitude. They were envious of a treasure like the mountain and river diagram. However, Lu Ming had saved them time and time again. They were extremely grateful to him. Lu Ming, this must be a grotto heaven treasure. I didn't expect that there would be such a wondrous treasure in the world. Bai Qixue also flew over and looked at Lu Ming with shock in her eyes. This was simply a world of its own. Who wouldn't be shocked? Boss, you're amazing. You even have such a treasure. King Kong stepped on the void and rushed over. He looked at Lu Ming with admiration. Looking at Vajra's appearance, the Talisman sect disciples admired Lu Ming even more. He could even subdue the demon race's prodigy. Chapter 931. 931 3 months. All of you can stay here and cultivate for the time being. We're currently being surrounded by the three-eyed god race. I'll hide in a palace and charge out after a while. Lu Ming said. Zongzi, you have to be careful. A Talisman sect disciple asked worriedly. It's fine. Lu Ming smiled and then looked at Bai Qixue. Qixue, let's go to the side. Then he walked to the side, followed by Bai Qixue. The others were tactful and did not disturb him, each finding a place to cultivate. Qixue, you must have obtained the inheritance of the emperor, right? Lu Ming asked. Yes, that's right. It's a pity that there are still many things that I can't see. My current cultivation is still too low. Bai Qixue said. Lu Ming nodded. This was normal. For example, when he obtained the legacy of Liansong had set a seal for him. On the path of cultivation, one could not aim too high. One had to take it one step at a time and walk up step by step to reach the peak. If one saw too many things at once, one would be confused and lose one's direction. Qixue, how much luck did you get? Lu Ming was somewhat curious. How many points of luck could one gain from an emperor's legacy? 50,000. Bai Qixue blinked her eyes and said, although she was trying her best to hold it in, she could still see the excitement in her eyes. 50,000? Lu Ming's gaze flickered. He did not think that Bai Qixue had gained too much, but too little. When he had obtained the mountain and river diagram, he had obtained 100,000 fate points. In that case, the value of the mountain and river diagram was even more valuable than the inheritance of an emperor. Lu Ming, how many points of luck have you obtained? Bai Qixue looked at Lu Ming curiously. She was eager to try and surpass him. A few 100,000. Lu Ming said casually. 100,000? Bai Qixue was tongue-tied, and finally, she felt dejected. Lu Ming secretly laughed. This little girl wanted to compete with him. All right, you've obtained the emperor's inheritance. Cultivate well. I'm going out. With that, Lu Ming's figure disappeared. He returned to the secret chamber and put away the mountain and river diagram. Lu Ming sat cross-legged and cultivated quietly, stabilizing his foundation. Time flew by and half a month passed. At this moment, Lu Ming was ready to go out. Now that his cultivation had advanced to the 3rd level of the spirit embryo realm, he was confident that with the mountain and river diagram protecting him, even a 9th-level spirit embryo realm expert wouldn't be able to hurt him. Lu Ming came out of the palace and flew above one of the palaces to look outside. Outside, it was completely empty. Not a single three-eyed god could be seen. The three-eyed god race had all left. Lu Ming guessed that there were many people participating in the War of Providence. Seeing that they could not find them, the three-eyed god race left to hunt down the others. I don't know if Brother Lydian and the 7th Sanguine Swordsman were killed or if they managed to escape. Lu Ming pondered for a moment, then he rose into the air and flew into the distance. After flying for tens of thousands of miles, they still didn't encounter any three-eyed gods. At this moment, Lu Ming found a secret place and entered the mountain and river diagram. He told the Talisman Amulet sect disciples that he was out of danger and asked if they wanted to go out. Everyone naturally wanted to go out. The purpose of participating in the Battle of Providence was to find opportunities. If they were to hide here, they might as well not have participated in the Battle of Providence. Lu Ming moved everyone out of the mountain and river diagram. How about this? During this period of time, let's move together and search for opportunities. After that, we will gather even more symbol puppet sect disciples. What do you think? Lu Ming suggested. Is Lu Ming Zongzi coming with us? That's great. The talisman sect disciples were overjoyed. They had already witnessed how powerful Lu Ming was. With Lu Ming, their chances of obtaining opportunities would be higher and the chances of encountering danger would be lower. Lu Ming nodded. This was not due to his sudden kindness. He did this for two reasons. First, he had to win the hearts of the people. These young geniuses would definitely be the pillars of the talisman amulet sect in the future. If he wanted to control the talisman amulet sect in the future, it would be very important to gain the support of these geniuses. If he did them a favor now, they would naturally be loyal to him in the future. Secondly, the more fate energy the talisman amulet sect obtained, the more beneficial it would be to the entire sect. Naturally, it would be beneficial to Lu Ming as well. Why would he not do it? Alright, we'll look for opportunities while you guys contact the talisman sect disciples nearby. Lu Ming said. In this world, the transmission distance of a jade voice transmission talisman was greatly suppressed. The transmission distance was less than 1/10 or even 1/100th of the outside world. Even a high-level jade voice transmission talisman could only contact people within a radius of 100,000 miles. With everything planned out, everyone began to move. Following that, Lu Ming led the group to search for some strange places to explore while contacting other members of the talisman sect. As time passed, more and more talisman amulet sect disciples gathered. Everyone's respect and gratitude for Lu Ming grew. Lu Ming's ability was recognized by everyone. During this period, they explored several strange places and obtained quite a few opportunities. They also encountered some dangers, such as the pursuit of the three-eyed god race. However, under Lu Ming's lead, they managed to overcome them one by one. Lu Ming naturally won the hearts of the people. As time passed, Lu Ming understood more about this world. During this period of time, he captured a few three-eyed gods alive and obtained a lot of information from them. This world was very vast. The three-eyed god race's royal city was located in the center of this world. Within the three-eyed god race's capital, there were many powerful experts. With the royal city as the center, it was divided into 4 major areas. Lu Ming and the rest had been active in the eastern area. There must be even more heaven's favorites in the other 3 directions. Time flew by, and in the blink of an eye, 3 months had passed. It had been half a year since the Battle of Providence had begun. Lu Ming was sitting cross-legged on the peak of a mountain. His body glowed and a dragon's roar could be heard. All of a sudden, Lu Ming's aura surged. However, in the next moment his aura was concealed again. Lu Ming opened his eyes. 4th level spirit embryo realm. Lu Ming smiled faintly. In the past few months, he hadn't killed many three-eyed gods. Most of them were cultivated by himself, and he had made great progress. The 4 intents had all entered the lower tier of the 3rd level. Today, his cultivation had also broken through to the 4th level spirit embryo realm, and his foundation was extremely stable. At the spirit embryo realm, it was extremely difficult to make a breakthrough. In the outside world, even geniuses would find it difficult to break through a level without a few years. As for some of the more ordinary spirit embryo experts, it was normal for them to spend decades or even centuries to break through one tier. It was already very fast for Lu Ming to be able to break through one level within 3 months by relying on his own hard work. And NBISP, this was also due to the excellent cultivation environment and the fact that he had devoured a few three-eyed gods. Other people might not have such a speed. Moreover, the higher one went, the slower one's cultivation would be. Not far away, some talisman amulet sect disciples were cultivating, while others were patrolling the area. In 3 months, they had already gathered more than 60 talisman amulet sect disciples. Chapter 932. 9:32 Rescue, meeting an acquaintance. In the distance, the sound of something breaking through the air could be heard. A figure was rapidly approaching. Soon, the figure stopped not far away. It was Ji Mai, the 107th on the list of top 1,000 talents. Zongzi. Seeing that Lu Ming had ended his cultivation, Ji Mai flew over. Ji Mai had also joined Lu Ming's team recently. At this time, Ji Mai looked at Lu Ming with a complicated expression. In fact, when Ji Mai first entered the observatory, his mental energy fire had already broken through to the 7th level. During this period of time, he had made more progress and initially thought that he had finally surpassed Lu Ming. However, during this period of time, he realized that the gap between him and Lu Ming was getting bigger and bigger. Lu Ming's combat strength was simply unfathomable. After learning from the other Talisman sect disciples that Lu Ming could even kill the little demonic lord and could even tame the demon race's heavenly child Vajra, who was no weaker than the little demonic lord, he immediately dispelled the thought of competing with Lu Ming and was full of admiration for him. Ji Mai, did you find anything? Lu Ming smiled, stood up and asked. Zongzi, I've indeed discovered something. Ji Mai's expression was serious. What is it? Lu Ming asked. There's a possibility that there are chosen from our Talisman Amulet sect more than 300,000 kilometers away, but they're trapped in one place. Ji Mai said. Immediately, Ji Mai began to explain in detail. It turned out that he had been observing the situation within a radius of hundreds of thousands of miles. He had heard the sound of a battle outside a valley. He looked from afar and found that inscriptions were shining in the valley and flames were soaring into the sky. Someone was fighting. However, the aura was extremely powerful, far stronger than Ji Mai's. Ji Mai knew very well that there must be a heaven's favorite who was far stronger than him. If he attacked, he would only die. So, he hurried back to report to Lu Ming. His aura far surpassed Ji Mai's. He was definitely in the top 100 on the list of top 1,000 talents, or even higher. The person from the Talisman sect who was trapped was definitely no small matter. If Lu Ming's guess was right, there should be a paragon of the Talisman Amulet sect in the valley who had set up an array to resist the attacks of others. Ji Mai, lead the way. Let's go and take a look. Lu Ming said. As for the Talisman Amulet sect disciples, they didn't have to worry about them. They had already set up a dense array in the vicinity. The advantage of the Talisman sect's disciples was that as long as they had the time, they could inscribe a powerful array formation, and defense was not a problem at all. Ji Mai nodded and flew away with Lu Ming. The two of them flew at top speed without stopping. It did not take long for them to arrive at the place Ji Mai mentioned. Boom! A purple flame shot up into the sky and covered half of the sky. At the same time, runes and arrays glowed, forming a light shield to block the attack of the flame. Purple heavenly fire, it's the Wang family. Lu Ming's eyes narrowed. He was all too familiar with the extreme purple heavenly fire. Wen Jisher, do you think that hiding in there will be of any use? Sooner or later, I'll break through your formation and you won't be able to escape. A cold voice rang out. It's senior brother Wen Qini. Ji Mai's expression changed. Wen Zongshi was one of the 13 candidates from the Talisman sect. He was also very famous among the 13 candidates. He was ranked 52nd on the list of top 1,000 talents, only one rank lower than brother Li Tian. But now, when Zhongyi was clearly in trouble. Wang Chen, I didn't offend you, and you're already trying to kill me. A voice came from the valley. Didn't you hear what my Wang clan's supreme martial artist said before we entered the battle of karmic luck? Kill anyone you see from the Talisman Amulet sect. You Talisman Amulet sect are really bold. Lu Ming is wanted by His Majesty, Martial Emperor Di, and you dare to take him in. You're courting death. Who can you blame? The voice from before rang out. Ha, what a joke. I heard that the supreme martial artist of the Wang family was almost beaten to death by Lu Ming. A dignified supreme martial artist almost died at the hands of a young man. No wonder he flew into a rage out of humiliation and took his anger out on our Talisman Amulet sect. In the valley, when Zhongtu's voice rang out, "You're looking for death." Accompanied by an angry roar, the light of the top-grade purple heavenly fire brightened. The light shield formed by the formation trembled continuously and was on the verge of collapse. Wang Chen, ranked 43rd on the list of top 1,000 talents? There was a cold glint in Lu Ming's eyes. Wang Chen, ranked 43rd on the list of top 1,000 talents. No wonder Wen Zhishe was trapped here. Let's go. Lu Ming strode toward the valley. In a few breaths, they were close to the valley. From afar, he could see more than a dozen figures standing in the sky above the valley. There were both men and women, and at the very front, there was a purple-robed young man. His entire body was covered in monstrous flames, and he was constantly launching attacks at the bottom of the valley. This person must be Wang Chen. There were 3 young people in the valley, 2 men and 1 woman. A scholarly-looking man stood in front of Wang Chen, waving his hands continuously. Purple mental energy flames danced and formed an array to resist Wang Chen. Behind this person, there was another man and woman sitting cross-legged, their faces pale. They were obviously injured. Meng Jia. Lu Ming recognized the woman. She was Meng Jia, whom he had met during the competition. As for the young man, Lu Ming remembered him as well. He was Gong Fei, one of the 13 Zongzi candidates of the Talisman sect, ranked 77th on the list of top 1,000 talents. The one who was fighting with Wang Chen was, without a doubt, Wen Zhishe. Who is it? As soon as Lu Ming and Ji Mai approached, those people heard the commotion and turned around to look at them. It's him. Lu Ming. When these people saw Lu Ming, they cried out in surprise. At the same time, their eyes were filled with a shocking killing intent. What? Lu Ming ignored the others and landed his gaze on 2 of them. A man and a woman. The woman was Wang Haoxian. She was still wearing a ring around her neck, and her face looked haggard. The aura on her body was weak. After so long, he was still at the 6th level of the spiritual ocean tier. Logically speaking, with Wang Haoxian's talent, he should have been able to reach the 9th level of the spiritual ocean realm at the very least, or even higher. It was obvious that she was being controlled, and it was difficult for her to improve her cultivation. When she saw Lu Ming, her eyes lit up. As for the other young man, he was wearing a starry robe. He was actually from the Holy Star. After the battle on the sacred constellation and Mulan's wedding day, the sacred constellation had disappeared. He never thought that he would see it here. Lu Ming, it's you? Kill him, Saint Constellation said in a cold voice. The killing intent in his eyes was extremely strong. His grandfather, Shangguan Zhongyuan, had been smashed to death by Lu Ming's divine 9-dragon cauldron in the Battle of 9 Dragons. He was a spiritual god realm powerhouse, but he had died just like that. With Shangguan Zhongyuan's death, the status of Shangguan Wuchen, Shangguan Wuling, and even the sacred constellation had plummeted in the Shangguan clan. If it were not for the fact that he had awakened the divine bloodline, he would have been in an even worse state. Therefore, when the new and old grudges were added up, one could imagine how much he hated Lu Ming. Lu Ming, Ji Mai, what are you guys doing here? Hurry up and leave. In the valley, Wen Zhongli also saw Lu Ming and Ji Mai and immediately shouted. Lu Ming and Ji Mai were no match for Wang Chen and the others. Furthermore, there were even more terrifying heaven's favorites here. Chapter 933. 933. I'll give you 3 chances. Ha, we've searched high and low for you, but you found it without any effort. Lu Ming, you've delivered yourself to our door. That's great. It saves us the trouble of looking for you. Wang Chen stopped and let out a wild laugh. Stop them, don't let them escape. You're courting death. Sheng Xingshan shouted and dashed toward Lu Ming and Ji Mai with a few other young men. Ji Mai's eyes were filled with solemnness. However, he held back his words when he saw Lu Ming's calm expression. In the next moment, a few young men, including the sacred constellation, surrounded Lu Ming. In front of them, Wang Haoxian looked worried. Lu Ming, at least you know your place. You know that you can't run away, so you didn't. However, even if you stay and beg for mercy, you'll still die today. Sheng Xingqian's eyes flickered with killing intent. At the same time, he looked confident. If he was not afraid of Ji Mai, he would have already attacked. Idiot! Lu Ming cast a nonchalant glance at the sacred constellation. He could see the cultivation of holy constellation with a single glance. Peak of the first-level spirit embryo realm. The cultivation of the sacred constellation had actually soared to this level. He must have obtained a great opportunity. Otherwise, it was impossible for it to rise to this level. Back then, he had only been ranked at the bottom of the list of top 1,000 talents on the Holy Star. Now, he had actually made it to this level. No wonder he was so confident. With this cultivation, he could already make it into the top 200. What did you say? Bastard, what did you say? The holy constellation was furious that Lu Ming had called him an idiot in such a contemptuous manner. Now that his cultivation level had improved greatly, he was confident that he could easily suppress Lu Ming. A loser who thinks he can be so arrogant in front of me just because he has some cultivation. If he isn't an idiot, what is he? Lu Ming swept a glance at the sacred constellation and then looked away to the front. Wang Chen held Wang Haoxian's shoulder and walked toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming, I can't help but be impressed by your abilities. Even the prodigy of the Wang family has fallen to your enigma. You're so close to me despite our grudges. You're really a bitch. Today, I'll kill you with my own hands in front of this bitch and make her despair. Wang Chen stared at Wang Haoxian coldly. You'd better let her go. Otherwise, you'll die a terrible death. A cold glint flashed in Lu Ming's eyes. Your heart hurts. Then I'll make your heart hurt even more. Pa! As he spoke, Wang Chen slapped Wang Haoxian across the face. A handprint appeared on Wang Haoxian's face and blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. Wang Haoxian glared at Wang Chen. Bitch, keep staring and I'll dig out your eyes. Wang Chen shouted coldly. Wang Haoxian, don't worry. I will make you pay for this slap. Lu Ming's expression calmed down, but his voice was very cold. Young Master Wang Chen, there's no need for you to kill this bastard. Let me do it. I have a grudge against Lu Ming. I'll kill him with my own hands today. Sheng Xingqian said. There's no need to kill him. Just cripple his cultivation first. I want him to beg for death. Wang Chen said coldly. Good, just what I want. After saying that, Sheng Xingqian strode out. Starlight emanated from his body, and 7 stars appeared above his head. The 3 golden chakras of the Big Dipper bloodline were shining. The sacred constellation had successfully awakened the 7 stars of the Big Dipper bloodline, reaching the 3rd level of the divine level. No wonder he was so confident. Lu Ming, I know that you've awakened a 2nd-level divine level blood meridian. I can crush you now. Sheng Xingqian's eyes were bright and full of confidence. Back in 9 Dragons, the blood meridian that Lu Ming had displayed was a 2nd-level divine blood meridian. Nonsense. Hurry up and attack. I'll give you 3 chances to attack. Try your best. This is the last chance I'm giving you. You won't have a chance to attack in the future. Lu Ming berated coldly. You're talking big, Dai. The Saint constellation was boiling with starlight, and it condensed into a starry long sword. It exuded a terrifying aura and stabbed toward Lu Ming's Danton. He wanted to cripple Lu Ming's cultivation in one move. Whoosh! The starry longsword cut through the void like a shooting star streaking across the sky at an extremely fast speed. However, Lu Ming stood still, as if he did not see the sword gleam. He did not even release his protective essential core. You're acting. I'll see how you die if you're acting in front of me. Sheng Xingqian's eyes were cold. His vital essence burst out, and the speed of the long sword increased. Just as the long sword was about to hit Lu Ming, he moved and swung his palm. Bang! When the palm hit the star's sword crumbled like tofu. Sheng Xingqian was so scared that his eyes almost popped out. He exploded with all his power to stop his body from moving forward and retreated backward. After retreating 1,000 meters, Holy Star finally stopped. Then, his face turned pale and he spat out a mouthful of blood. This was not because he was injured by Lu Ming. He had originally continued to charge forward, but he had forcefully stopped his body and retreated. This reversal was too great. Under the surge of his essential core, he had suffered internal injuries. Damn it! Holy Constellation roared in his heart, and his ashamed face turned green and red. Lu Ming had not even made a move and he had already injured himself. It was really embarrassing. However, Lu Ming's slap just now was truly shocking. It had actually destroyed his sword gleam so easily. He had retreated in shock. What an idiot. First move, 2 more moves, treasure the opportunity. Lu Ming smiled faintly, his smile was full of contempt. Die. Lu Ming, go to hell. 7-star heart-killing sword. The Saint Starlight roared and its eyes turned red. The Big Dipper glowed in the endless void. It seemed to have turned into a sword light, falling from the sky and slashing at Lu Ming. This strike was extremely terrifying. It was several times stronger than the previous one. On the side, the other young men had grave expressions on their faces. The battle prowess of the sacred constellation had made them serious. In an instant, the sword light landed on Lu Ming's head. However, Lu Ming did the same as before and slapped him. With a bang, the sword light shattered. It was no different from the last time. At the scene, the others were stunned. It was beyond the expectations of many people that Lu Ming could defeat the attack of the Holy Constellation so easily. Lu Ming's combat strength is not weak, Wang Chen said, but his tone was still relaxed. That was because the sacred constellation was no different from an ant in his eyes. Even if Lu Ming was stronger than the sacred constellation, he was just a slightly stronger ant. He did not take it to heart. Although Lu Ming's combat strength isn't weak, compared to a prodigy like Wang Chen, there's still a huge gap. It's dangerous for him to stay here. In the valley, Gong Fei and Meng Jia had already finished recuperating and were looking outside with worried looks. Lu Ming looks very calm. He knows that Wang Chen is here, but he still dares to stay. He must be confident. We'll see how things go. If things don't look right, we'll charge out together. When Lezhang said, "There's still one more move. Holy Star, is this all you've got? What a disappointment." Lu Ming smiled faintly. How is that possible? How is that possible? Holy Constellation roared in disbelief in his heart. The top-grade purple heavenly fire on Wang Chen's body shot up into the sky. It was as if half of the sky had been dyed with a layer of purple light. The flames roared, and Wang Chen's eyes turned cold. 5th-level spirit embryo realm. The corners of Lu Ming's lips curled into a faint cold smile. The 5th level of the spirit embryo realm was only 1 level higher than Lu Ming's. Wang Haoxian, watch how I cripple him. After I cripple him, I'll cripple your cultivation and sell you off after the Battle of Providence is over. I'll let you know the consequences of betraying the Wang family. Wang Chen's voice spread far and wide, causing Wang Haoxian's face to turn pale. Wang Chong said something similar before, but he's already dead. Now, I'll send you down to accompany him. Lu Ming said in a cold voice. You killed Wang Chong? Then you deserve to die even more. Wang Chen's killing intense soared. He took a step forward and threw a punch at Lu Ming. With 4 intense Revo levering around him, he activated the prison's suppressing heaven technique and threw a punch as well. Boom! The 2 fists collided and the air trembled. Wang Chen's body swayed and he staggered backward. Lu Ming, on the other hand, did not retreat a single step. The others widened their eyes and gasped in shock. How was it possible that Lu Ming could force Wang Chen to retreat with 1 punch? Although the crowd was shocked when Lu Ming crushed the sacred constellation so easily, it was just a surprise. No one thought that Lu Ming could fight Wang Chen. There was a huge difference between the Holy Star and Wang Chen, and there was no way to compare. Wang Haoxian's eyes shone with a shocking light. In the valley, when Qisher, Gong Fei, and Meng Jia's eyes suddenly lit up, revealing a look of surprise. Wang Chen, on the other hand, was furious. Damn it. Wang Chen bellowed, his killing intent soaring. He had actually been forced back by Lu Ming. This was completely different from what he had expected. He had expected to beat Lu Ming half to death with a single punch. Lu Ming, you must have used all your strength in that punch just now, right? But let me tell you, I only used half of my strength. Don't think you can stop me. Wang Chen said coldly. Oh, was it? I only used 20% of my strength just now. Lu Ming said casually. Nonsense, you're talking big. Strength can't be determined by words. Die. Wang Chen's aura grew even stronger as he punched out with his divine fist of flames, sending heaven and earth into chaos. Lu Ming's lips curled into a cold smile. He was not wrong. He had only used 20% of his strength just now. However, obviously no one believed him. Then let the facts speak for themselves. He stepped forward and threw another punch. This time, the power was even stronger. It collided with Wang Chen's fist again, and Wang Chen was forced to retreat again. This time, there was a look of disbelief in his eyes. His strength had increased, and Lu Ming's strength had increased as well. He could not accept that Lu Ming could still crush him. At the same time, he was a little shocked. Could it be that what Lu Ming said just now was true? Did he really only use 20% of his strength? Impossible, it was impossible. Kill. A cold killing intent burst out from Wang Chen's body. His bloodline emerged, and 5 golden chakras dazzled as he transformed into a ball of purple flames. Divine level rank 5 bloodline. In fact, most of the top 100 on the list of top 1,000 talents had 5th grade divine level bloodlines, and only a few had reached 6th grade divine level. One should know that the 6 supreme martial artists of the 6 great ancient families only had 6th level divine level bloodlines. How many supreme martial artists were there in the entire East continent? They were all accumulated over the years. Whoosh! The flame turned into a sword and slashed down at Lu Ming. Roar! A dragon's roar resounded as Lu Ming burst out with 2 streams of dragon energy. His body swelled and scales appeared on his skin, making him look demonic. Bang! He threw out a punch and it hit the flame sword heavily. The sword made a violent sound and kept shaking. Sparks flew in all directions and the sword was sent flying. Chapter 935. 935 The Great Battle with Nangong Bo. Lu Ming took a series of steps and punched continuously. His fists were like 2 huge iron hammers, constantly bombarding the flaming sword. The flaming sword trembled violently and had no power to fight back. At the side, the other members of the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace looked at this scene in shock. Their eyes widened and they could not believe it. Wang Chen, ranked 43rd on the list of top 1,000 talents, had been completely suppressed by Lu Ming. He could not even fight back. Who would have believed it if they had not seen it with their own eyes? Back at the Nine Dragons 3-sect exchange meet, Lu Ming was indeed very strong. However, there was still a huge gap between him and the top 100. How long had it been since then, and Lu Ming had already reached this stage? Everyone in the top 100 was a prodigy among prodigies. Lu Ming had improved and so had they. It could only be said that Lu Ming's improvement was too terrifying. Boom, boom, boom. The iron fist continued to bombard the flaming sword. Finally, with a loud bang, the flaming sword exploded and turned into flames. The flames drifted back and then condensed back into Wang Chen's appearance. However, the current Wang Chen was in a sorry state. His face was pale and blood was flowing out of his mouth. His aura was weak and it was obvious that he was seriously injured. He looked at Lu Ming in shock and retreated rapidly. Lu Ming stepped forward and charged forward. Today, Wang Chen must die. Nangong Bo, save me. Wang Chen shouted as he retreated. Lu Ming's eyes flickered and he continued to charge forward. Stop! A young man shouted coldly. He stepped on the air and pointed his finger. A phoenix's cry was heard and a fiery red phoenix flew out and pounced at Lu Ming. Lu Ming's eyes turned cold. He threw a punch and crushed the phoenix, then continued to attack Wang Chen. "How dare you? You don't seem to have heard what I said." The young man's eyes were cold and his body glowed. With a tremble, he appeared in front of Wang Chen, his eyes emitting a sharp light. A terrifying aura burst forth from his body, far above that of Wang Chen's. Nangong Bo, ranked 32nd on the list of top 1,000 talents, was a heaven's favorite of the Nangong family, one of the 6 great ancient families. Nangong Bo is about to make his move. In the valley, when Zhongli's eyes turned serious, the spiritual fire between his eyebrows jumped, ready to attack at any time. Nangong Bo was not someone Wang Chen could compare to. "Nangong Bo, if you block me again, I'll kill you too." Lu Ming shouted coldly and pressed forward. Kill me as well? Let's see how you're going to kill me." Nangong Bo's eyes were cold, and the fiery red light on his body became even stronger. That kind of light seemed like fire, but it wasn't fire. There seemed to be a phoenix's long cry in the light. The Azure Phoenix Spirit Seal was the Nangong family's strongest technique. "Get lost." Lu Ming's answer was very simple. He threw a punch. Nangong Bo struck out with his palm and a phoenix's cry rang out. A phoenix condensed and flew towards Lu Ming. As it flapped its wings, a terrifying killing intent overflowed. This was a phoenix condensed from the Blue Phoenix Spirit Seal. It had terrifying power and looked good, but it was filled with killing intent. Lu Ming's fist collided with the phoenix without a sound. However, Lu Ming's expression changed and he could not help but take a few steps back. He felt a tearing pain on his fist. He glanced around and found that the scales on his fist had cracked and blood was oozing out. What a terrifying Azure Phoenix Spirit Seal. It was silent and deadly. Furthermore, Nangong Bo's cultivation was also very frightening. He had reached the early stage of the 6th level Spirit Embryo realm, and his strength was much stronger than Wang Chen. Buzz! The cry of the phoenix rose again as Nangong Bo stepped forward. With a wave of his hand, another phoenix flew out, filled with killing intents. He wanted to kill Lu Ming. He was extremely powerful. "Then I'll kill you too." Lu Ming snorted coldly and the dragon energy in his body burst out again. With the eruption of 5 dragon energies, Lu Ming's strength increased by several times. With a single punch, the phoenix crumbled. "Why would I?" Nangong Bo was shocked. He waved his hands and 2 phoenixes rushed out. Lu Ming waved his fists, courageous and unrivaled. The true energy in his body whistled, and the 4 concepts were activated. He circulated the prison-suppressing heaven technique, and its power was extremely strong. Boom! Boom! Lu Ming strode forward, breaking down madly. Nangong Bo's expression was extremely unsightly. The phoenix's cry continued, and his entire body glowed. His fingers continued to form seals in the air, and another phoenix flew out. This phoenix seemed to have a breath of life, and its power was even more powerful. Lu Ming continued to punch for a few days. The sky was like a thunderclap. He punched 8 times in a row before he finally broke the phoenix. However, Nangong Bo condensed another phoenix. Nangong Bo was indeed very powerful. The Heaven's Pride experts who were ranked higher on the list of top 1,000 talents would have a higher combat strength than those who were ranked lower on the list, even if they were at the same cultivation level. Otherwise, how could they be ranked at the top? Behind Nangong Bo, Wang Chen was overjoyed. With Nangong Bo around, he wouldn't die. A sinister glint flashed in his eyes as he pondered how he could kill Lu Ming. Today, he was actually crushed by the people inside. He had lost a lot of face and must take revenge. His eyes flashed as he looked at Wang Haoxin. He sneered and flew towards Wang Haoxin. "What are you doing?" Wang Haoxin was shocked and quickly retreated. "Since Lu Ming is so concerned about you, I'll kill you in front of him." Wang Chen sneered. He wanted to kill Wang Haoxin in front of Lu Ming and distract Lu Ming so that he would be killed by Nangong Zhan. "Wang Chen, you're looking for death." Lu Ming's eyes were cold as he kept punching. However, Nangong Bo's combat strength was so strong that he was holding Lu Ming back. For the time being, Lu Ming could not break out. Hee, I'm indeed anxious. Wang Chen laughed coldly and walked towards Wang Haoshan. Buzz! Suddenly, the space lit up and countless inscriptions glowed. A formation appeared and several ice dragons formed, pouncing towards Wang Chen. When Zhisher, Wang Chen was furious. Flames filled the air as he fought the ice dragon. However, he had been injured by Lu Ming earlier and his combat strength had been weakened. He could not break this array at all. When Zhisher, Gong Fei, and Meng Jia stepped through the air, with every step they took, runes would appear under their feet. Runes would appear in the air. Not good, they're setting up a formation, stop them. Kill! At the side, the other geniuses of the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace roared. Their true energy exploded and they charged towards Wen Zhongli and the others. However, the formation glowed and the ice sword pierced through the air. A few Heaven's favorites screamed as they were killed by the ice sword. Wen Qisher, how dare you kill the supreme talent of the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace? You must die. Nangong Bo bellowed. You should worry about yourself. 9 dragons appeared above Lu Ming's head. He transformed into 9 dragons. Nangong Bo's pupils shrank. A fiery red phoenix appeared above his head. It was also a level 5 divine level expert, and he had transformed into a phoenix. Roar! The 9 dragons roared and the devouring power burst out. He stepped into the void and used the 9 dragons' heaven-treading steps. The phoenix let out a long cry and also used its killer move to fight against the 9 dragons. A dragon and a phoenix fought in the sky. It was as if they had returned to the ancient times when hundreds of beasts fought for supremacy and the dragon and phoenix fought. In the blink of an eye, dozens of moves had been exchanged. The more Lu Ming fought, the braver he became. He began to suppress Nangong Bo. Phoenixes and true dragons were on the same level, but the 9 dragons were stronger than ordinary true dragons. They were known as the top 10 battle beasts, the 10 most powerful divine beasts in the world, and their battle strength was unparalleled. Even if the bloodline level was the same, the 9 dragon bloodline could suppress the phoenix bloodline. Chapter 936. 936 The 9 Great Forbidden Grounds. Pucci! The 9 dragons showed their might and tore one of the phoenix's wings. The phoenix let out a wail, and its aura weakened as it rapidly retreated. The 9 dragons' heaven-treading steps of the 9 dragons' footwork chased after the phoenix, and its 9 claws struck out in succession. Wounds appeared on the phoenix's body. It wailed and its eyes were filled with fear. With a final cry, the phoenix turned around and ran. It turned into a ray of light and disappeared into the distance. Nangong Bo had escaped. Lu Ming did not pursue him. Nangong Bo's combat strength was very strong, and his cultivation was 2 levels higher than his. Even if Lu Ming could win, it would not be easy to kill Nangong Bo. Run! Nangong Bo's escape caused the people of the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace to be in a state of chaos. Each and every one of them cried out in fear and wanted to escape. However, the inscriptions around them glowed and a formation appeared, trapping them. When Zhisher, Gong Fei, Meng Jia, and Ji Mai attacked at the same time, trapping them in the area. Lu Ming, who had transformed into the 9 dragons, took a step forward and appeared in front of Wang Chen. He looked at him coldly. No, damn it. Wang Chen was terrified, his entire body emitting cold air. He had never expected Lu Ming to be so terrifying that even Nangong Bo was not his match. He was seriously injured by Lu Ming and had to escape alone. Lu Ming did not use his full strength in the battle with him just now. Who? Lu Ming grabbed with his claws. Pucci! Although Wang Chen tried his best to resist, one of his arms was still torn off. He screamed in pain, his eyes filled with despair. Lu Ming transformed back into his human form. He stepped forward and punched out with both fists. Bang! Bang! Wang Chen was completely unable to resist and was severely injured. In the end, Lu Ming punched his dantian, shattering his spirit embryo and turning it into a waste. Ah! Wang Chen screamed hysterically, his voice filled with despair and hatred. Lu Ming, you'll die a horrible death. How dare you offend the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace and His Majesty, the Martial Emperor? After the Battle of Providence is over, you'll definitely die at His Majesty's hands. You definitely will. Wang Chen let out a venomous cry. With his cultivation crippled, he knew that he was finished. Even if Lu Ming did not kill him, he would die in this world. Wang Haoxian, if he wants to kill you, then I'll let you kill him. Lu Ming looked at Wang Haoxian. Wang Haoxian stepped on the air and formed a long sword of fire in his hand. He looked at Wang Chen with a murderous look. Wang Haoxian, you bitch! You betrayed the Wang family and the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace. You will die sooner or later. Wang Chen shouted. Whoosh! The sword light slashed across, and Wang Chen's head flew far away. Ah, no, spare me, spare me. I don't want to die. The other paragons of the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace started to beg for mercy. However, Wen Zhongli and the rest did not show any mercy. A formation appeared, and not long after, everyone from the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace was killed. Lu Ming controlled the bloodline of the 9 dragons and devoured the blood essence of the disciples of the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace, turning them into dried corpses. Wen Qini and the rest looked at Lu Ming's blood meridian in shock. It was the first time they had seen such a domineering bloodline. Lu Ming, thank you very much for this. Wen Zhisher stepped forward and cupped his fists. On the side, Gong Fei and the Meng family members bowed in unison. Their eyes were filled with surprise and even shock. Lu Ming's combat strength was too strong. He had completely surpassed them. Now, in terms of combat strength alone, Lu Ming could be ranked in the top few among the 14 candidates of the Talisman Amulet sect. There were only a few who could surpass Lu Ming. The key was that Lu Ming had improved too quickly. If this continued, he would surpass most of the people and be on par with Huan Zhen. You're too kind. We're all from the same sect, so it's only right for us to help each other. Furthermore, before the Battle of Kismet, the elders also instructed us to be united. Lu Ming smiled. Wen Xinyi and the rest had a better impression of Lu Ming. He was powerful, but he was not arrogant or overbearing. He gave off the feeling of a spring breeze. They knew that Lu Ming was someone they could befriend. Brother Wen, Brother Gong, there are still many of our Talisman Amulet sect's senior and junior brothers not far from here. Let's meet up there. Lu Ming said. All right. Wen Zhongli and the rest nodded. Together with Lu Ming, they flew towards the gathering place of the Talisman Amulet sect disciples. On the way, Lu Ming also understood why Wen Qini and the rest were being attacked. It was obvious that the Talisman sect had been targeted in the Battle of Providence. Not only the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace, but even the Heavenly Corpse sect and the Sky Demon Valley would either kill or capture the Talisman Amulet sect's disciples and help them break some of the array formations in the ruins. During this period of time, many Talisman sect disciples had died. Wen Zhongli and the other 2 had also bumped into Wang Chen, Nangong Bo and the rest. Without a word, Wang Chen and the rest had attacked Wen Zhongli and the rest. If it were not for Wen Zhongli and the rest desperately setting up a defensive formation in the valley while Nangong Bo and Wang Chen had the mentality of a cat-and-mouse game and wanted to play slowly, they would have been in danger before Lu Ming arrived. Lu Ming and Ji Mai gritted their teeth. The Emperor Heaven Divine Palace and the other 2 great powers really thought that the Talisman Amulet sect was easy to bully. The 5 of them chatted as they flew. Suddenly, the 5 people's eyes moved, and they all stopped. The books of destiny appeared in front of the 5 of them. Lu Ming looked at the book of destiny and saw a line of words appearing on it. One of the totem pillars had appeared in the 9 forbidden grounds, and only by gathering all 10 of them could one open the ancient city of Providence. The totem pillar? Could it be that the ultimate treasure to open the ancient city of Kismet is this so-called totem pillar? Ji Mai's voice was filled with shock. The 5 of them put away the book of destiny and looked at each other. It was obvious that the 5 of them had received the same information. That should be the case. The totem pillars are the key to opening the ancient city of Providence. I didn't expect one of them to be in one of the 9 forbidden grounds, and one of them has already appeared. I wonder who has it. When Lezhang said. Lu Ming knew about the 9 forbidden grounds as well. Previously, he had learned from the three-eyed god that there were 9 most dangerous places in this world. The 9 forbidden grounds that the three-eyed god race called the Forbidden Grounds were precisely the 9 forbidden grounds. The 9 forbidden grounds were many times more dangerous than the other ruins. This world was very strange. There were some relics that were not very dangerous to Lu Ming and the others, but they were fatal to the three-eyed god race. Once the three-eyed god race set foot in them, they would be wiped out immediately. These legacy sites seemed to be specially designed to test Lu Ming and the others who were participating in the Battle of Providence. This made Lu Ming feel even more that there seemed to be an inexplicable big hand behind his back that was controlling everything. As for the 9 forbidden grounds, they were the most dangerous of all dangers to the three-eyed god race. Lu Ming had learned about it before, but he did not think about going there. He guessed that the 9 forbidden grounds were the most important places for testing. There must be amazing treasures in there, but they were often accompanied by danger. If one went there before he had the ability, he would be courting death. But now, it seemed like he had no choice but to go. Because even if he didn't go, others would go. Chapter 937. 937 The Sky Poison Island. The Battle of Karmic Luck was divided into 2 stages. The first stage was about a year's time. It was mainly a trial process. During this process, they would explore some ruins and treasure lands to obtain opportunities and obtain fate value. There was also the method of obtaining luck through killing. During this process, he could also continuously improve his strength. The second stage was to open the ancient city of Providence and start the final battle. However, in order to open the ancient city of Providence, there were some conditions. For example, one had to gather some specific treasures before the ancient city of Providence would appear. Only when the ancient city of Providence appeared would the value of Providence obtained from the Battle of Providence be of great use. It would be able to truly turn into Providence, allowing one's sect, family, and friends to obtain great benefits. If he couldn't activate the ancient city of Providence, the Battle of Providence would end once the time was up. The Providence he had obtained during the process would be useless, and it would mean that he had failed in the Battle of Providence. Other than some opportunities that he had obtained during this period of time, there was no other use. Therefore, opening the ancient city of Providence was the key. It was obvious that the ancient city of Providence had been opened using the same totem pillars. In the 9 forbidden grounds, only by entering the 9 forbidden grounds could one obtain the totem pillars. And now, someone had already obtained a totem pole. Needless to say, obtaining a totem pole would definitely give him a huge amount of luck. The few of them looked at each other. Lu Ming said, "The forbidden area closest to us is one of the 9 forbidden areas, the Sky Poison Island. Let's go to the meeting place first and discuss our next move," Lu Ming suggested. The group nodded and continued flying. Not long after, the group returned to the Talisman Amulet Sect's gathering place. The Talisman Sect's disciples were naturally overjoyed to see Wen Zhongtu and the others. After that, Lu Ming gathered the Talisman Amulet Sect's disciples to discuss the 9 forbidden grounds. It was obvious that everyone's Book of Destiny had received the same message. Many people shook their heads and chose to back out. "I'm not going either. The 9 forbidden grounds definitely contain great opportunities, but they are also extremely dangerous. At the same time, all the geniuses will definitely gather in the 9 forbidden grounds, which are the places where the strongest geniuses fight for. Even if I go, I won't be able to obtain any opportunities." Ji Mai shook his head and sighed. Although he was quite powerful, he was still far from the top 1,000 talents on the list. Then, Meng Jia shook her head, indicating that she was not going. In the end, only Lu Ming, Wen Zhishi, and Gong Fei decided to go. As for the other Talisman Sect disciples, They planned to gather together and find a good place to inscribe a large formation. They would use it as their base camp and then explore the nearby area to obtain opportunities. Lu Ming nodded. This was the best choice. If one didn't have enough power, going to the 9 forbidden lands would just be throwing their lives away. After the discussion, Lu Ming, Wen Zhongtu, and Gong Fei bade farewell to the rest and flew in the direction of one of the 9 forbidden areas, the Sky Poison Island. Xiao Jin, increase our speed. Lu Ming urged as he sat cross-legged on the back of a fierce golden tiger, Wen Qishe and Gong Fei. Roar! The golden tiger let out an unwilling roar. The golden tiger was naturally the Vajra. At this moment, he had grown to more than 20 meters long. He stepped on the air and ran at an extreme speed. In his heart, he was roaring furiously. When Lu Ming said, "You want to have a taste of the god-splitting array again, right?" King Kong could only accept his fate, his heart full of resentment towards Lu Ming. "What are you shouting for? Are you trying to scare me? Hurry!" Lu Ming slapped King Kong's head, causing King Kong to grimace in pain and run away. He had already cursed Lu Ming tens of thousands of times in his heart. When Qishe, Gong Fei's head was covered in cold sweat. He was truly convinced by Lu Ming. To actually be able to tame a demon race's heaven's pride as a mount and even make it so submissive, it was truly amazing. The three of them closed their eyes and rested on the back of the Vajra. The Vajra was running extremely fast. Not long after, they crossed a distance of over 1,000,000 li. This place was not far from the Sky Poison Island. Lu Ming had Vajra transform into his human form while Lu Ming, Wen Qishe, and Gong Fei changed their appearances and clothes. They concealed their auras and flew toward the Sky Poison Island. The Talisman Amulet sect was being targeted and Lu Ming was the target of the Emperor Sky Divine Palace and the Sky Demon Valley. It would be troublesome if he appeared with his true appearance. It was better to disguise himself. After changing their appearances, the four of them flew forward. It was getting more and more desolate ahead. There were mountains everywhere, but on the mountains, there was a dead silence and no life. Tens of thousands of miles later, there was a large depression in the mountains. It was a huge lake, and it was difficult to see the end. On the surface of the lake, green fog was spreading, blocking one's line of sight. One couldn't see far at all. One could only vaguely see that in the center of the lake, there was a huge object. It was the Sky Poison Island. On the lakeshore, there were many figures standing. They were only looking into the distance, and no one flew into the lake. When they saw Lu Ming and the rest, they only cast a cold glance at them and turned away. Buzz! Buzz! The sound of something breaking through the air rang out. A few figures flew over from the distance and landed on the lakeshore. These people had thick demonic chi. They were the talents of the heavenly monster tribe. This is the Sky Poison Island. A few of the demon race's heaven's favorites looked excited. "Why don't you guys go in?" A young man from the demon race, who was wearing colorful clothes, asked the others. "Can't you see? The surface of the lake is filled with poisonous gas. How do we cross it?" A human youth said. From his clothes, he should be a genius of the Heavenly Corpse sect. "Hee, a mere poisonous gas is enough to stop all of you. What a bunch of trash. You still want to fight for the totem pole? Go home." The colorful-clothed young man sneered. He stepped on the air and turned into a colorful python, flying toward the lake. The paragon of the Heavenly Corpse sect sneered. The colorful giant python was very fast. In a few breaths, it had rushed into the lake and into the green mist. However, as soon as he charged into the green mist, he let out a shrill scream. His colorful body actually let out a sizzling sound and began to rot. The colorful giant python desperately flew back, but after flying for a few miles, it fell into the lake with a scream. Its body rotted, and soon only white bones were left. What a terrifying poisonous gas! Lu Ming, Wen Qishe, and Gong Fei's eyes turned grave. The rainbow-colored giant python had already reached the 7th level, which was equivalent to the cultivation of the 1st level of the spirit embryo realm. Yet, it was unable to put up any resistance and was poisoned to death. How did this happen? The expressions of the other demon race heaven's favorites who came with the colorful python changed. Hee hee, what an idiot. Didn't you do any investigation before coming here? The poisonous gas in this lake is extremely poisonous, and it's impossible to cross it. But every 3 months, the poisonous gas in the lake will dissipate for 7 days, and that's the best chance to enter the Sky Poison Island. Now, there's still half a month before the poisonous gas dissipates. Just wait. The paragon of the Heavenly Corpse sect sneered. He was wearing a golden feather robe and was filled with a luxurious aura. His body emitted a golden light, and in the light, a golden divine bird could be seen flying and chirping. The golden Luan. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. He recognized the golden divine bird in the light. This was a demon race heaven's favorite. The golden pool. Luo Tian slowly uttered a name. His eyes were solemn. The others were also greatly shocked. Although the demon clan of the Sky Demon Valley was not on the list of top 1,000 talents, some of their extremely powerful talents were still eye-catching. The golden pool had the bloodline of the divine bird, the golden Luan. It was said that the bloodline was at least 60% thick. It could be ranked in the top 5 among the Heavenly Demon Valley's geniuses and was more famous than Luo Tian. No wonder this person dared to look down on Luo Tian. Luo Tian, with me here, don't even think about getting the totem pole on the Sky Poison Island. Jin Qi looked at Luo Tian with a cold smile. Not necessarily. Whoever can get it depends on ability, but it also depends on luck and opportunity. Luo Tian said. Luck? Chance? I have the strength to crush everything, why do I need luck and opportunity? Only the weak would say that? Jin Qi laughed. Luo Tian's expression was ugly. If anyone else dared to speak to him like this, he would have cut them down with his saber. However, he was not confident about Jin Qi. He felt a strong sense of danger from the golden pool. The poisonous mist is starting to disperse. At this moment, someone exclaimed. Everyone looked forward and saw that the thick green poison mist was rapidly dissipating as if a strong wind was blowing on the surface of the lake. The scene in the lake also became clear. In the center of the lake was an extremely huge island. It was about 10,000 miles away from the shore. That was the Sky Poison Island. Buzz! The golden pool was the first to move. It turned into a golden light and flew toward the Sky Poison Island. After that, Luo Tian and the other Heaven's Pride experts also began to move. They were all afraid of being left behind as they flew towards the Sky Poison Island. Lu Ming and the other 3 blended into the crowd and flew together. The journey of 10,000 miles only took a few minutes for them. As they neared the island, many people stopped. The island was covered in dense forests, which was completely different from the outside world. In the sky above the forest, there was a thick green mist rolling like green clouds. However, in the forest below, there was only a faint green mist. Compared to the sky, it was many times thinner. I think the golden pool has already rushed in. Although there is poisonous gas in this forest, it is far from comparable to the poisonous gas in the lake or in the sky. It should be able to resist. That's right, as long as we don't fly into the sky, we should be fine. Let's go. One by one, the figures rushed into the island and disappeared. Let's go. Lu Ming and the other 3 gathered together and landed in the forest. As soon as they landed in the forest, they heard a sizzling sound. It was the green mist corroding their protective Zhenyuan. However, it was not very strong, so they could easily block it. The 4 of them followed the forest and rushed toward the depths of the island. Not long after, they heard a shrill scream. There's danger. The 4 of them looked at each other, slowed down, and focused their attention as they headed in the direction of the scream. Soon, they found a young man lying on the ground, no longer breathing. A pitch-black poisonous scorpion was lying on the young man's body and biting him. Lu Ming and the rest's expressions changed drastically. These light screens were all condensed by a level 7 primary formation technique, yet they were easily broken. Let's go, there are too many scorpions, we can't kill them all.
But
Lu Ming shouted. The four of them turned around and ran at top speed. Scorpion was in hot pursuit. However, with every step that Lu Ming, Wen Zhongli, and Gong Fei took, a large array would appear on the ground, forming a light screen to block the poisonous scorpions. Lu Ming did not say anything, but his gaze was more determined. In this world, strength spoke for itself. Without strength, it was useless to say anything. The four of them continued to explore, but their direction did not change. They kept going deeper into the island. This was because the totem pole was most likely deep within the island. However, the deeper they went into the island, the thicker the poisonous fog became, and the more powerful it was. Inscriptions appeared on Wen Zhishe and Gong Fei's bodies. A light shield enveloped them and blocked the poisonous gas around them. The Vajra's demonic power spread out and covered his entire body. The surrounding poisonous gas came into contact with the inscription light shield and demonic power, making a constant sizzling sound and corroding the light shield and demonic power. Lu Ming was the most relaxed. His entire body was covered in a layer of devouring power. All the poisonous gas was devoured, and it did not affect Lu Ming's movements at all. This made Wen Qini and the rest click their tongues in wonder. In their hearts, Lu Ming was becoming more and more unfathomable. Not long after, they saw a young man with a green face running back in panic. It was obvious that he was deeply poisoned. The few of them had grave expressions on their faces as they advanced another few thousand miles. At this point, the power of the poisonous gas was even more terrifying. The light shield formed by Wen Zhishe and Gong Fei's formation was shaking and shaking violently on the island. The King Kong's demonic power was the same. It was constantly resisting the poisonous gas and was consuming a lot of its energy. Lu Ming, it seems that I can only go this far. I can't go any deeper. Wen Zhongli shook his head and smiled bitterly. I'm the same. Gong Fei said. King Kong also looked at Lu Ming with eager eyes. If this continued, they would be in danger. Then you guys stay in the periphery and look for opportunities. I'll continue to explore deeper. Lu Ming nodded. He bade farewell to Wen Qini and the rest and left alone. Not long after, Lu Ming had traveled another few thousand miles. At this point, the power of the poisonous gas had reached a shocking level. There was no trace of the poisonous insects, let alone people. Tap tap. Lu Ming was cautious as he walked forward step by step. He did not know what kind of danger he would encounter here. He was on full alert and did not dare to move too fast. There's someone in front. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. He saw a figure in front of him. The figure was also moving slowly. Clearly, it was much slower than Lu Ming. Luo Tian. As he walked closer, he realized that the young man in front of him was Luo Tian. Luo Tian's entire body was filled with demonic qi. It formed a thick demonic qi armor that covered his entire body and blocked the poisonous gas around him. However, the poisonous gas was terrifyingly powerful. It constantly corroded the demonic qi armor. It was obvious that Luo Tian was having a hard time moving forward. Hearing the commotion, Luo Tian turned around and was shocked. Obviously, he did not expect that other than himself and Jin Qi, there would be someone else who could make it this far. However, when he saw the devouring power that was constantly permeating Lu Ming's body, his eyes flashed. Lu Ming ignored Luo Tian and strode forward. However, Luo Tian clearly had no intention of letting him go. Bang! Luo Tian took a step forward and appeared in front of Lu Ming, blocking his way. Your Excellency, what is the meaning of this? Lu Ming's face darkened. You should have a treasure that can resist the poisonous gas, right? Give it to me. Luo Tian said in a commanding tone. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. It turned out that Luo Tian had regarded the devouring power of the 9-dragon bloodline as some kind of treasure. Your Excellency, I don't have any treasure that can resist the poisonous gas. Lu Ming said. No? You still want to lie to me? Do you think I'm an idiot? If you didn't have a treasure to resist the poisonous gas, how could you have come here? Hurry up and hand it over, or I'll take it myself. It'll be the same. Luo Tian sneered, his eyes flashing with killing intent. Chapter 941. 941 Chapter 941 Meeting Luo Tian. Your Excellency, this is too much. Lu Ming said. Even if he had a treasure that could resist the poison, he would still be poisoned to death if he gave it to Luo Tian. Luo Tian did not consider his life at all. Too much? It's your honor to be able to help me, you piece of trash. If you don't hand it over, I'll kill you immediately. Luo Tian's eyes were filled with demonic energy and his killing intent became even colder. Luo Tian, who do you think you are? Lu Ming suddenly sneered. He then took a step forward and dashed to the side at top speed. You're looking for death. Luo Tian was stunned for a moment. Then, he let out an angry roar and slashed his palm at Lu Ming like a knife. The terrifying saber flare almost split the poisonous gas apart. The surrounding poisonous gas rolled as the saber flare approached Lu Ming. Roar! A dragon's roar rang out. Lu Ming exploded with all his dragon energy. At the same time, the mountain and river diagram rushed out and surrounded him. Boom! Lu Ming threw a punch and it collided with the saber radiance. A terrifying explosion rang out and the poisonous gas nearby was dispersed. Lu Ming felt waves of incomparably terrifying saber radiance surging towards him. However, most of it was blocked by the mountain and river diagram. However, there was still a portion that surged into the mountain and river diagram. There were a few more wounds on Lu Ming's body, and blood was flowing out. Lu Ming made use of this force to retreat backward 1,000 meters. He then ran to the side. What an overbearing saber technique! What a powerful combat strength! A stream of blood seeped out from the corner of Lu Ming's mouth. The scales on his fist burst open, revealing a deep cut so deep that the bone could be seen. Luo Tian's strength was far above his. No wonder he was ranked 10th on the list of top 1,000 talents. So you do have some strength. Luo Tian frowned and his killing intent grew colder. Although he did not use his full strength in that move just now, there were not many people who could block his blade. Bang! He took a step forward, and his body was like a flash of light as he chased after Lu Ming at an extremely fast speed. Brat, you have so many treasures on you. You'd better hand them all over, or I'll make you die an ugly death. Luo Tian's voice was cold. Lu Ming could not be bothered with him. He broke into a run. Kill! Luo Tian shouted as a black demonic blade appeared in his hand. He slashed with all his might. 1,000-meter-long astral blade formed and broke through the poisonous gas. It cut through the void and slashed toward Lu Ming. This slash was several times more powerful than the previous one. Lu Ming did not fight it head-on. His figure flashed to the side rapidly. However, the saber light actually moved along with him and slashed down at high speed. In the end, Lu Ming managed to dodge it. However, he was still hit by the sharp edge of the saber energy. The mountain and river diagram shook violently. Lu Ming's body shook violently and he spat out a mouthful of blood. With his injuries, it was difficult for him to maintain his disguise and return to his original appearance. Lu Ming. After seeing Lu Ming's true appearance, Luo Tian let out an angry roar and his eyes flashed with killing intent. Lu Ming, it's you. How dare you kill my brother Luo Li? I'll make sure you die without a burial place. Demonic qi surged from Luo Tian's body and his speed increased to a terrifying level. He was like a demonic blade that cut through the air. He was actually a little faster than Lu Ming. He's so strong. This Luo Tian's cultivation is only at the 7th level of the spirit embryo realm, but his combat strength is too terrifying. Even geniuses like Wang Chen and Nangong Bo, who are at the same level as Luo Tian, would be easily killed by him. Lu Ming's mind was racing. Luo Tian's strength was extremely terrifying. He could not be measured by ordinary warriors or even ordinary geniuses. Other than a few people, Luo Tian was basically invincible in a battle of the same level. Furthermore, his cultivation was 3 levels higher than Lu Ming's. Lu Ming changed his direction and rushed toward the depths of the Sky Poison Island. The poisonous gas was thicker there, which was to his advantage. Damn it! Luo Tian shouted angrily and chased after him. In the blink of an eye, they had gone another 100 miles. And NBS peeps. Suddenly, a buzzing sound came from ahead. It was a group of poisonous bees. There were basically no living creatures here, but there were still so many poisonous bees. These poisonous bees were absolutely terrifying. Luotin, I'll let you have a taste of the poisonous bee. Lu Ming's figure did not stop. He charged directly at the poisonous bees and threw a punch at the same time. A flaming fist radiance rushed into the poisonous bees. This time, it was as if he had poked the hornet's nest. The poisonous bees were in a frenzy. They seemed to be very angry and rushed toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming used the mountain and river diagram to block the attacks. Bang bang bang. The poisonous bees kept hitting the mountain and river diagram, causing it to shake violently. Then, Lu Ming turned around and ran toward Luo Tian. Damn you, you're crazy! Luo Tian bellowed and slashed out a shocking saber flare. Lu Ming tried his best to dodge it. Although he did not manage to avoid it completely and was shocked to the point of spitting blood, the saber flare cut down a bunch of poisonous bees. The rest flew angrily towards Luo Tian. There was a long tube at the head of each bee. Poisonous gas of various colors spewed out from the tube and spread toward Luo Tian. Pai Li Pa La. The demonic armor on Luo Tian's body made a sound of corrosion. He was so frightened that his face turned pale and he ran away. Lu Ming, don't let me see you again. I'll kill you. Luo Tian's voice could be heard, but he had already disappeared. Lu Ming ran forward in large strides. A group of poisonous bees kept chasing him. Fortunately, he could devour poisonous gas, so the poisonous gas of the poisonous bees was ineffective against him. The mountain and river diagram could also defend against the poisonous bees' attacks. Not long after, Lu Ming shook off the poisonous bees and continued on his way. After 1,000 miles, a huge mountain appeared in front of Lu Ming. Boom! Boom! Suddenly, a violent rumble came from the foot of the mountain. There seemed to be a great battle going on. Who is it? Could it be that the human race's heaven's favorite has eliminated me? There's still someone who can make it this far? Lu Ming's expression changed. According to his speculation, Luo Tian should not have been able to reach this place. He immediately concealed his aura and approached carefully. When they walked closer, they found a cave at the bottom of the mountain. The rumbling sound came from the cave. Lu Ming found a secret place to hide and looked in front. Not long after, the rumbling sounds in the cave disappeared. A golden light flashed and a figure rushed out of the cave. The golden pool. Lu Ming's gaze flickered. That figure was actually Jin Qi. On top of the golden pool, there was a golden bead that scattered down rays of sword light, helping the golden pool to block the poisonous gas outside. However, it was obvious that it could not completely block it. The green gas on Jin Qi's face was clearly poisonous. Damned beast! Jin Qi growled and glared at the cave. Then he found a place, took out a pile of raw stones, and began to absorb them. He did not notice Lu Ming. It was obvious that he had fought with something in the cave and his Zhen Yuan had been severely depleted. Now he was out to absorb the raw stones to recover his Zhen Yuan. Half an hour later, Jin Qi got up and rushed into the cave again. The sound of a battle could be heard from the cave again. Not long after, Jin Qi roared and rushed out of the cave. This time he was in a worse state. His hair was disheveled, and the golden feather clothes on his body were shattered. Chapter 942. 942 Chapter 942 Killing Jin Qi. Lu Ming would not let go of such an opportunity to take his life when he was weak. As he rushed out, Lu Ming directly exploded with his dragon power. In a few breaths, he was close to the golden pool. Who is it? Qi was shocked and suddenly looked in Lu Ming's direction. Boom! Lu Ming's palm struck towards the top of Qi's head. This palm could split a mountain. Lu Ming had used all his strength. Qi had never expected that there would be someone else here. In a hurry, he raised his arm to block. Boom! Qi's body was sent flying far away, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. It seems that he's really seriously injured. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. Previously, Luo Tian had been so afraid of Qi, which showed that Qi's strength must be extremely terrifying. He was definitely not weaker than Luo Tian, or even stronger. Now that he had been sent flying by Lu Ming's palm, it was clear that Qi had been seriously injured in the cave and was shrouded in poisonous gas. His strength had been greatly reduced. Brat, you dare to sneak attack me? You're looking for death. As soon as Qi retreated, he was furious. His eyes were filled with a shocking murderous intent as he looked at Lu Ming. After taking a look, Qi's eyes widened and he exclaimed, "Lu Ming, you're Lu Ming." Lu Ming was not in disguise and the golden pool could recognize him at a glance. Kill! Lu Ming could not be bothered to waste his breath on him. He strode forward and charged toward the golden pool. Don't think that you can kill me just because I'm injured. You're the one who's going to die today. I'll kill you and get the reward from the Flood Dragon Sovereign. Qi's voice was cold. A strong golden light burst out from his body and he charged towards Lu Ming. Boom! The two of them exchanged a blow. Lu Ming's body swayed and he stood still, but Qi was forced to retreat. Right now, you're not my match at all. Lu Ming did not care about defense at all. He attacked the golden pool frantically. Every punch and palm strike contained the power of millions of June. They suppressed everything and poured madly into the golden pool. Moreover, many of the attacks were aimed at the round pearl above the golden pool. Boom! Boom! The golden pool exploded and collided with Lu Ming continuously. Bang! After a few dozen moves, the round bead on top of Qi's head was shattered by Lu Ming's punch. The bead shattered and more poisonous gas gushed towards Qi. Qi's face turned even greener. Damn it! The golden pool let out a shrill cry and transformed into its true form. It was a golden lawn. Of course, it was not a pure-blooded golden lawn. It had more than 60% of the golden lawn's bloodline. A dragon's roar was heard. Lu Ming used the fusion of his blood meridians and transformed into 9 dragons to continue his attack. Qi coughed out blood continuously. His golden body was covered in a thick layer of poisonous green gas, and the concentration was getting stronger and stronger. The golden pool tried its best to rush out but was held back by Lu Ming. The longer this dragged on, the more disadvantageous it would be for Qi. His eyes were already filled with panic. In the blink of an eye, dozens of moves had been exchanged. Poochie! The claws of the 9 dragons clawed at Qi's body and tore off a large piece of flesh. Golden feathers flew in the air and Qi let out a blood-curdling scream. Bang! He used the 9 dragons' heaven-treading steps and took 6 steps in a row. The violent attacks poured onto Qi's body, causing him to fall to the ground and create a huge pit. Bang! The 9 dragons descended and grabbed Qi's wings with their claws. They tore at Qi's wings with all their might, and as blood splattered, the wings were torn off. Qi let out a heart-wrenching scream. He no longer had that high and mighty attitude from before. What he had was only fear and embarrassments. He was terrified. He could feel death approaching. Boom! The dragon claw struck again, and a violent force blasted into Qi's body, dispersing all of his demonic power. No, don't kill me, spare my life. Qi shouted. He didn't want to die. One of the 9 dragons' claws was on Qi's neck. He looked at Qi with cold eyes and said, "Weren't you high and mighty before? He's so domineering, snatching other people's things without even blinking. Your biggest mistake was that you couldn't bear to waste it. When you came out of the cave, you swallowed a few drops of the life potion, and your injuries would have healed immediately. I'm not your match either. It's a pity that you couldn't bear to waste the life potion, hee hee. Lu Ming sneered continuously. You're one of the four? Jinqi's eyes widened. Not bad. Lu Ming said. Lu Ming, spare me. I'll give you whatever you want. I still have a lot of treasures in my storage ring, including the elixir of life. I can return them all to you as long as you let me go. Jinqi loudly begged for mercy. Spare you? Are you going to kill me after you've recovered? Am I that stupid? Besides, after I kill you, your treasures will be mine, right? Lu Ming sneered. No, don't kill me. I swear, I will never seek revenge from you. Jinqi shouted. However, before he could finish his sentence, Lu Ming suddenly exerted his strength and swung his dragon claw, killing the golden pool. A heaven's favorite of the demon race, who was comparable to the top 10 on the list of top 1,000 talents, had died just like that. He had died with great regret. The devouring power burst forth and devoured the blood essence energy of the golden pool, taking away his storage ring. He glanced at the storage ring and indeed saw 2 jade bottles. The jade bottles contained the water of life. Lu Ming was overjoyed. He put away the storage ring and looked at the cave. There was a creature in the cave, and it had fought with the golden pool for so long. What happened? Lu Ming speculated that the creature in the cave would not be much stronger than the golden pool. Otherwise, the golden pool would not have dared to attack it repeatedly. It couldn't be much stronger than the golden pool. If the golden pool was injured, the creature couldn't be intact. This might be a chance. The totem pole, could it be in this cave? Otherwise, why would Jinqi work so hard? At the thought of the totem pole, Lu Ming's heart burned with passion. Lu Ming carefully moved closer to the cave. The hole was huge and there was a faint light coming from inside. Lu Ming walked in slowly and looked inside. There was a huge cave inside. Behind the cave was another cave. The light was coming from that cave. At the entrance of the cave, there was a huge colorful crab. The giant crab was taller than a human just by lying there. However, there were many wounds on its body, and blood was still flowing out of them. It seemed that this giant crab was the one who had fought the golden pool. However, this giant crab wasn't any better off than Jinqi. Its aura was weak and it was obviously heavily injured. Lu Ming's fingers started to wave in the air and he started to inscribe the array. His speed was extremely fast, and his fingers were like lightning as they streaked across the air. Countless inscriptions entered the space. Squeak! The giant crab sensed the fluctuation and looked up. When it saw Lu Ming, it let out a sharp sound and got up, crawling toward him. Kill! Go! Lu Ming shouted softly. The array in the air glowed and condensed into arrows, shooting them at the giant crab. The giant crab waved its tail and blocked all the arrows. At the same time, the giant crab spewed out a large amount of poisonous gas that spread toward Lu Ming. Chapter 943. 943 The Ancient Three-Eyed God Race. Unfortunately, Lu Ming was least afraid of poisonous gas. He rushed over and started a battle with the giant crab. The giant crab was very powerful. It was definitely not weaker than the golden pool. In fact, it was even stronger. However, most of the giant crab's power was concentrated on the poisonous gas. To others, it was a fatal threat. To Lu Ming, however, he could ignore it. Moreover, the giant crab was severely injured and its strength had been greatly reduced. In this way, Lu Ming had the upper hand. However, even if Lu Ming had the upper hand, it was still very difficult for him to kill the giant crab. The cave was filled with continuous rumbles. Lu Ming used all his strength to fight the giant crab. After a few hundred moves, he finally killed it. However, Lu Ming himself was also severely injured. Lu Ming immediately took out a jade bottle. The jade bottle contained the elixir of life. He poured out 2 drops and swallowed them. At the same time, he took out a pile of raw gemstones and let the bloodline of the 9 dragons devour them. Lu Ming's injuries were recovering at an alarming rate. In a few minutes, his injuries were completely healed. The elixir of life is truly astonishing. Lu Ming secretly felt it. Soon, Lu Ming's essential core had fully recovered. He looked at the glowing hole. The totem pole, is it inside? Lu Ming walked over carefully and stepped into the cave. It was a passageway. The light came from the front and the passageway was more than 100 meters long. After passing through the passageway, Lu Ming came to another huge cave. This is... Lu Ming was extremely surprised when he arrived at the cave. This was because there was no trace of poisonous gas in this cave. Instead, it was filled with extremely rich heaven and earth spiritual qi. In fact, there was even some heaven and earth origin qi in the heaven and earth spiritual qi. This qi was exactly the same as the one in the raw gemstone. It was called origin qi. This cave and the Sky Poison Island were simply two different worlds. Who's that? Suddenly, he saw a burly figure sitting cross-legged in the corner of the cave. This figure was clearly a three-eyed god, but this three-eyed god looked extremely old. His scales had all fallen off, and his two horns were dull and lifeless. However, there was still a faint aura of life on his body. And beside this three-eyed god, there were many skeletons. These were all thick bone banners, and it was obvious that they were left behind by the three-eyed god race. At this moment, the three-eyed god suddenly opened his eyes and looked at Lu Ming. The 20-year period is up again. You humans are here again. And let's go. An ancient voice boomed out of the three-eyed god. Lu Ming's eyes were solemn as he sized up the three-eyed god. This three-eyed god seemed to be very old and was about to die. The aura on his body was very weak and posed no threat to Lu Ming. Only then did Lu Ming feel relieved. Human youth, what's wrong? You're still afraid of me, a dying man? The old three-eyed man said. What are you doing here? Lu Ming asked. According to what he knew, there were some ruins here that the three-eyed god race couldn't enter at all. If they entered, they would definitely die. Moreover, this was one of the 9 great forbidden lands, so how did the three-eyed god race get in? Could it be that the three-eyed god race can enter the Sky Poison Island? How did I get in? Do you think I wanted to come in but was forced to? This world doesn't allow the existence of beings above the spiritual god realm. We're just a trial for your human race. The ancient three-eyed god let out a low roar. What do you know? Lu Ming's eyes flickered. He had always felt that there was a powerful existence behind all this. The Battle of Providence was really like a place for them to train. Who was controlling everything from behind the scenes? Do you want to know? I can tell you. The ancient three-eyed god said in a low voice. Lu Ming did not speak. He listened quietly and remained cautious. Although this old three-eyed god's aura was weak, Lu Ming still did not dare to be careless. According to the ancient records, our three-eyed god race is extremely powerful and dominates the world. Chapter 944. 944 A dozen spirit gods. Boom. Boom. As the fist radiance continued to strike out, the spiritual god became even weaker. If it was an ordinary spiritual god, Lu Ming would definitely not be a match for him. However, this old three-eyed god was suppressed before he could even break through to the spiritual god realm. He could only be considered a half-spiritual god, and his body was severely injured. He was extremely weak and completely suppressed by Lu Ming. After a while, the spirit god swayed and flew back into the body of the old three-eyed god. The ancient three-eyed god let out a heaven-shaking roar. Don't even think about getting the totem pole, I'm going to destroy it. With that, the old three-eyed god's body suddenly moved, and he pounced in a certain direction. Lu Ming's gaze swept across the cave. He saw a stone pillar about 3 meters tall at the side of the cave. There were various patterns carved on the stone pillar, such as dragons, phoenixes, and tigers. This is a totem pole. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. He had been so focused on the old three-eyed god that he did not notice the totem pole. Without any hesitation, Lu Ming took a step forward and charged towards the old three-eyed god. A long spear materialized in his hand and he pierced through the old three-eyed god. Poochie! The spear pierced through the old three-eyed god's body, nailing him to the wall. I'm not willing to accept this. My three-eyed god race will annihilate the human race sooner or later. And NBSP, Arg, the ancient three-eyed god let out a furious and unwilling roar, and then he died. Lu Ming's expression was calm. He could understand the old three-eyed divine being's unwillingness to give up. He had cultivated arduously for his entire life and was about to break through to the spiritual god realm, but he was suppressed and his entire life's efforts were in vain. He could only hide in this cave and wait for his life to run out before dying of old age here. However, the two of them were of different races and were hostile to each other. Lu Ming had no reason to sympathize with them. His gaze fell on the stone pillar. Is this the totem pole? The purpose of Lu Ming's visit was for it. Lu Ming walked to the bottom of the totem pole and hugged it with both hands. He lifted it with force, but it did not move at all. It's quite heavy. Lu Ming smiled faintly. He exerted all his strength, the essential core in his body exploded, and he pulled with all his might. Boom, boom, boom. The entire cave started to shake. Lu Ming slowly pulled out the totem pole. Rise. Lu Ming shouted and pulled the mountain with all his might. The muscles all over his body bulged and he exerted force on his waist. With a loud bang, the totem pole was pulled up. However, at this moment, the totem pole suddenly glowed brightly. More than 10 rays of black light suddenly burst out and flew towards the space between Lu Ming's eyebrows. Not good. Lu Ming was shocked. This was because with a quick glance, he could see that the dozen or so rays of light were actually a dozen or so spiritual gods, all of them in the form of miniature three-eyed god race beings. At this moment, the skeleton of the old three-eyed divine race member flashed through Lu Ming's mind. Could those skeletons be the same as the ancient three-eyed god, the three-eyed god that was suppressed after breaking through to the spiritual god realm and died here? After they died, the spirit god attached itself to the totem pole. We've been tricked. Just now, the old three-eyed god pretended to destroy the totem pillar, but he was actually reminding Lu Ming that it was a totem pillar. He wanted to remind Lu Ming to pull it out, and once he pulled it out, the spiritual gods in the totem pillar would attack Lu Ming. However, at this moment, everything happened so suddenly. It was too late for Lu Ming to dodge. Whoosh! More than 10 spiritual gods rushed into Lu Ming's glabella and into his sea of consciousness. Get out! Lu Ming roared and closed his eyes. His mind appeared in his sea of consciousness and condensed into a physical form. More than a dozen spiritual gods appeared in his spiritual sea, exuding all kinds of powerful auras. Kill! One of the spiritual gods exuded a strong aura of lightning. It seemed to have no intelligence and charged at Lu Ming. Fast, extremely fast. What a powerful thunder intent. These spiritual gods are formed by energy and the intent realm of heaven and earth. Their original owner's consciousness has been destroyed, and only their instinct is left. Their instinct to kill humans. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. He immediately simulated the prison-suppressing heavenly art and threw a punch. Boom! Lu Ming's body went numb. He was sent flying and his body almost dissipated. Kill! At that moment, the other spiritual god turned into a beam of fire. An extremely rich concept of fire spread out and charged at Lu Ming. Boom! Lu Ming's body seemed to be on fire as he was sent flying. His entire body was in excruciating pain. These spiritual gods wanted to obliterate Lu Ming's mind and will. If Lu Ming's will was obliterated, it would be equivalent to his death. Whoosh! A ray of golden light cut through the clouds in his sea of consciousness and slashed at Lu Ming. The creation of gold. The wills of these spiritual gods were all at the 4th level and were extremely powerful. The 4th level intent realm of heaven and earth was the highest level. These people had already mastered the highest level of intent realm, which was many times stronger than the 3rd level intent realm. Lu Ming's body was cut in half by the golden light, and a sharp pain that seeped into his soul came from his body. Lu Ming's body, which had been split in half, retreated rapidly and recondensed in the distance. However, his face was very pale. In his sea of consciousness, his body was formed by his mind. Even if it was split apart, it could still reform. However, the pain was real. His current situation was very dangerous. In the sea of consciousness, his body could indeed reform at will, but if he couldn't bear the pain and his will dissipated, his body would never be able to reform again, which meant his death. This was a test of will. My will is firm, how can I be destroyed by you? Lu Ming growled in a low voice. His eyes were extremely determined. Whoosh! Whoosh! The two spiritual gods pounced on Lu Ming. Kill? In my sea of consciousness, let's see who will kill who? Lu Ming roared and pounced on the few spiritual gods. After a few moves, Lu Ming was still scattered. However, in the distance, he condensed again. His will was firm and he was unmoved. They continued to fight. He used all of his knowledge in this sea of consciousness to fight against the dozen spiritual gods. His will was firm. No matter how great the pain was, he would not be moved and would fight with all his might. In the beginning, Lu Ming was completely at a disadvantage and had almost no power to fight back. However, the more Lu Ming fought, the braver he became. He was getting used to fighting in his sea of consciousness. 10 days later, Lu Ming severely injured a spiritual god with the concept of fire with one punch, breaking his arm. The broken arm turned into fire concept and entered Lu Ming's body. Lu Ming's comprehension of the fire concept had actually improved by a small margin. You can do this? Then you'll become my nourishment. Lu Ming's eyes shone with a bright light. He was in high spirits as he fought against these spiritual gods. Time passed day by day. Lu Ming's body continued to hold onto the totem pole. He stood in the cave, unmoving. His true war dragon technique was actually circulating on its own, like a vortex, absorbing the spirit chi and origin chi of the surroundings. His cultivation base was slowly rising. In his sea of consciousness, the more he fought, the more courageous he became. A month later, a spiritual god was completely defeated by Lu Ming. The corresponding intent realm of heaven and earth was absorbed by Lu Ming, and his corresponding intent realm was improved by a large margin. Chapter 945. 945 A terrifying upgrade, Heaven and Earth Jade Essence. Time flew by. 1 month, 2 months. Lu Ming did not know how much time had passed. He only knew that there was a war. The Great War. He was fighting with more than a dozen spirit gods. His will was incomparably firm. No matter how it was shattered, he could recover. It was as firm as a rock and there was nothing that could stop him. The dozen or so spiritual gods were defeated and scattered by Lu Ming one after another. The amazing thing was that the intent of the spiritual gods would integrate into Lu Ming's intent rune. His understanding of a certain intent rune would be greatly improved. There were more than a dozen spiritual gods, and they contained all kinds of intents. Boom. Boom. Lu Ming did not know when, but there was only one spiritual god left in his sea of consciousness. This spiritual god has comprehended the earth essence realm. What a strong defense. Lu Ming was somewhat speechless. This spiritual god was protected by the intent of earth and was like a turtle shell. It was the most difficult to deal with. Lu Ming and the spiritual god continued to fight. Slowly, 3 days passed. Finally, Lu Ming broke through the defense and defeated the spiritual god. Lu Ming could feel that his earth concept had improved a lot. That old three-eyed god was trying to harm me, but who would have thought that he'd help me instead? My 4 intents have all improved by a huge margin. Lu Ming laughed. With a thought, he returned to his body. He found that he was still holding the totem pole and standing there. I don't even know how long I've been fighting with those spiritual gods. It feels like a long time has passed. However, the battle of Kismet shouldn't be over yet. Otherwise, I would have been teleported out. Lu Ming thought to himself. My cultivation level? Suddenly, Lu Ming's heart trembled. He sensed it and immediately found that the true qi in his body was surging and extremely strong. It was much stronger than before. 7th level of the spirit embryo realm. This is the 7th level of the spirit embryo realm. Lu Ming was dumbfounded, his eyes filled with disbelief. He had only killed a dozen or so spiritual gods in his sea of consciousness, but his cultivation had actually increased by 3 levels, from the 4th level spirit embryo realm to the early stage of the 7th level spirit embryo realm. This was simply inconceivable. Take a look at my intent realm. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat and he was overjoyed. His wind, fire, and lightning intents had all reached the peak of level 3 upper tier. He was only one step away from the completion of level 3. The earth intent was slightly weaker, but it had also reached the late stage of level 3 upper tier. It had improved too much. How long has it been? My cultivation base has actually improved so much? It's too shocking. Lu Ming pondered secretly. At the same time, he was extremely happy. This was an opportunity, a great opportunity. What a powerful force. With my current combat strength, I can definitely kill Luo Tian easily. Lu Ming felt the majestic energy in his body and his eyes were filled with anticipation. Of course, he was referring to the Luo Tian of the past. He did not know how much time had passed and whether Luo Tian's cultivation had improved. There's something down there. At this moment, Lu Ming noticed that there was something strange under the totem pole. With a thought, the totem pole was kept into his storage ring. There was a pit where the totem pole had been pulled out. Under the pit, a piece of iron with strange patterns could be seen. The iron block seemed to be very large, and only a part of it was exposed in the pit. The rest of it was covered by rocks on the ground. Lu Ming pried open the rock and realized that it was not an iron block but a huge iron box. Lu Ming took out the iron box. What was in this metal box? Lu Ming was a little curious and opened the metal box. In the iron box, there were 2 jade figures that were as tall as humans. Yes, jade figures, as if they were carved out of huge precious jades. The jade figure emitted a shocking amount of life essence. Lu Ming's pupils contracted sharply. He thought of a kind of treasure, heaven and earth jade essence. That's right, this wasn't a jade person sculpted from jade, but a heaven and earth jade essence. The heaven and earth jade essence was said to be a type of supreme jade. After countless years, it absorbed the essence of heaven and earth and was born by chance. If this kind of living being completely awakens its intelligence and is born, it will be extremely terrifying. Legend had it that a long time ago, a mature heaven and earth jade essence was born in the eastern wilderness. It was extremely terrifying and invincible. It could compete with or even be stronger than a martial emperor. He had stirred up a storm of blood in the East continent and was killed by a stronger being. It was extremely difficult for this heaven and earth jade essence to fully mature. Once it matured, it would be invincible in the world. However, a jade essence that had not matured and had not awakened its spiritual wisdom was a rare supreme treasure. It could really be described as rare. This was because a heaven and earth jade essence, combined with some other materials, could be used to refine a perfect body. If a spiritual god realm master's life was coming to an end, he could attach his spiritual god to the body refined by the heaven and earth jade and live another life. How precious was this? Lu Ming actually obtained 2 here. His heart was beating rapidly. At this moment he thought of the 9 Suns Paragon. If the 9 Suns Paragon had this heaven and earth jade essence, he could completely reform his physical body and return to the world. That's great. At this moment, Lu Ming's heart was filled with excitement. He was 10 times, no, 100 times more excited than when he found out that his cultivation had improved greatly. Along the way, the 9 Suns Supreme had helped him too much. His current achievements were all because of the 9 Suns Supreme. Otherwise, he would still be a piece of trash who had his bloodline taken away from the Lu family of the fiery wind city of the blazing sun empire. He might have been killed by someone else long ago. There was one thing that had always been on his mind, and that was to find a treasure for 9 Suns Supreme to form a new physical body. Now he had finally found it. Lu Ming took a deep breath and calmed his excited mood. And a jade talisman. Lu Ming found a jade talisman beside the two heaven and earth jade spirits. Lu Ming picked it up and took a look. He knew that it was a kind of secret book that recorded cultivation techniques or jade talismans that recorded things. With a sweep of his mind, Lu Ming realized that this was a secret skill. Twin Forbidden Spell. This was the name of the secret skill. What a strange name. Lu Ming began to read the content. At one glance, Lu Ming was shocked and his eyes widened. What a wonderful secret skill. What a strange secret skill. What a shocking secret skill. Lu Ming exclaimed continuously. According to the records of the Twin Forbidden Spell, this secret skill could actually cultivate one person into two. That's right, there was a huge difference between cultivating two people and cultivating a clone. Using the heaven and earth jade essence as the material, one soul would be split into two and another one would be formed. This self would become the second body, while the main body would be the main body. This was completely different from a clone. This was because, generally speaking, a clone could only have a portion of the original's combat strength and could not cultivate. The strength it had when it was cultivated would always be the same. However, the Twin Forbidden Spell was different. The clone he condensed was basically the same as the main body. They had the same strength and aura. They could even cultivate, comprehend, and even communicate with each other. This was terrifying and heaven-defying. This was equivalent to two people cultivating. The only difference was that the clone had no consciousness. It was controlled by the main body and had no distracting thoughts. It would only focus on cultivation. This was simply faster than the cultivation of the main body. Moreover, if the main body accidentally died, the consciousness could awaken in the secondary body. This was equivalent to having an extra life. How heaven-defying was this? However, there was a warning at the end of the forbidden twin chant. This was a forbidden technique that could only be used once in a lifetime. Otherwise, it would lead to self-destruction. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.